Oh, well, hello, everyone. We are here for a work session. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. First, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to share my screen here. My little YouTube video. Oh, there we go. And share. All right, everybody see it?
I do.
Good. All right, perfect. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Let me stop sharing real quick. All right, and then Mike, I do believe that takes us over to you.
We have a roll call real quick.
Oh, roll call first. Sorry, that takes us to Barb.
Good evening, everyone. I'll take roll call. Mrs. Filipiak.
I'm here.
Mr. Klein.
I'm here.
Mrs. Lukey.
Present.
Mrs. McDonald.
Here.
Mr. Martin.
Here.
Mr. Miller is absent, and Dr. Warren.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'm just going to look for approval of the May 17th, 2021 work session agenda. Do I need a vote on that, Mr. Darga?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do I have any support?
Motion. I'll support.
All right. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the work session agenda? All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. And now that brings me over to you, Mr. Darga, for board work session.
Very good. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our virtual work session. Extremely honored to have with us tonight members from Plant Moran Cressa. We've got a familiar face, Mr. Kevin Massey, Greg Van Kirk, and Paul Willis are joining us this evening, and they're going to take a little bit of time. They've got a PowerPoint presentation that they'd like to present to the members of our Board of Education. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Kevin. Welcome again, gentlemen, to Allen Park Public Schools.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Nice to see a number of faces that I recognize and haven't been around for a couple of years now, whether it's sitting next to on a basketball score table next to Stephen or Jennifer watching your sister and my daughter play. So it's great to see a lot of faces. You know, when we met before, I never really got a chance to probably chat and talk about, you know, our careers and what everybody does for a living. And we just kind of meet, we see our kids play sports, talk Allen Park politics. But, you know, for the last over 30 years, I've been in project management and construction. And last 15 years, I worked at CB Richard Ellis in Southfield. I ran their project management department. And my background is in architectural construction as well as business management. And I officially just turned in March 35-year citizen of Allen Park here. So I grew up in River Rouge, 21 years, and moved to Allen Park. And I'm on my third residence here in Allen Park, so it's obviously very near and dear and embedded in my heart with my kids all graduating from the high school and the schools. So when I saw the bond program, you know, come up, and I immediately thought, wow, this is awesome. You know, this is awesome to see our city getting an opportunity to go out there and enhance our schools, enhance our athletic facilities. And as you guys all know, me being on the Booster Club and in fighting to raise money for the kids, as I always said at the beginning of a banquet when I'm emceeing a banquet, is to give our kids the best tools and facilities to succeed, right? Not necessarily win the best, most titles, but give our kids the best everything to succeed. So I reached out to Mike, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity. I wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, Plant Moran Cressa and who we are. I left CBRE about a year ago and came over to Plant Moran Cressa because I saw a lot of good opportunity there. I was pretty much in the corporate sector doing a lot of work over there. And over here, we do a lot of K-12 bond work. And have a great team here, and wanted to get in front of your team and want to talk a little bit about ways that we can help you out and hopefully maximizing every penny out of this bond to get everything possible and more for the students of Allen Park. So with that being said, not taking up too much time, I'm going to turn over to Paul Wills, who's on our team, and let him introduce himself, and then over to Greg.
Thanks, Kevin, and good evening, everybody. And once again, congratulations on your bond passing. There was a lot of support for K-12. So now the fun work begins, right? So obviously the ballot information materials is time-consuming, but again, implementing a $70+ million bond is, again, where the fun really gets exciting, if you will. So my background is I've been with the firm for 20 years. I lead the K-12 practice, and my background is in architecture. Prior to coming to Plant Moran 20 years ago, I was with Bart Mao when they were a much smaller company, about $1.2 billion. So over the last 20 years, I've completed roughly $3 billion, almost about $1 billion right here in Wayne Reese's schools. So then I'm going to turn over to my partner, Greg Van Kirk.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. I'm Greg Van Kirk. I'm a partner at Plant Moran Cressa. I'm a board member. I'm a founding partner. I've been with the firm, I hate to say it, it's went by fast, but 29 years and coming up on 30. I got started doing audit and tax work, particularly in the government sector. My year ends, I used to audit the city of Dearborn, Canton Township, city of Brighton, so on and so forth. And I did a lot of school districts, Southgate, Southfield schools way back when. In my year end stuff, I did a lot of development and construction, which kind of led me to where I am today. So I'll falling down here. I'll ask a question. How many of you are familiar with Plant Moran, but maybe not Plant Moran Cressa? I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard of Plant Moran, correct? Mm-hmm. How many, by nodding of the head, have you guys heard of Cressa before? Okay. Yeah. So it looks like Stephen, you may have. So I get that response a lot. I'm really not sure who Cressa is. Cressa is an affiliate entity of Plant Moran. It's owned 50% by Plant Moran and 50% by myself and a few other partners. It was formed in the 90s when Plant Moran had a choice of how to grow and continue to get bigger and better. They had to decide to either do audit and tax work and move up market and audit the likes of Public 500 or Fortune 500 companies, or they had to stay middle market and really build a robust consulting practice. And when they built the robust consulting practice, they picked 4 or 5 major areas of clients that they saw maybe stumbled or had issues or what have you. And one of them was facilities. And you think about it, Allen Park Schools just embarked on a $72 million bond issue, right? That's a big number. And you're not going to be able to borrow any money for a long time, and you got to do it right. Because if you don't, it's not good. And it could hamstring the organization for many, many years to come. And so we built this organization because we used to audit school districts, like I said, and you could see they weren't getting the most of their bond dollars. We would audit school districts and they'd be paying 25 to 30% soft cost, whereas the private sector was paying, 18%, something along those lines. And we're saying, what's the private sector doing that the public sector is not? And what we found out is, and I love using this example because it's so close to you guys, is think about Ford Motor Land and what Ford Motor Land Development Company does for Ford Motor. Ford Motor has a program where they do X number of construction, real estate, etc. every single year in and year out. $72 million of capital spend to them is a drop in the bucket. Not only is it a drop in a bucket, but they also have a robust team to fulfill and satisfy that and manage it and oversee it that have a lot of competencies with it. Well, what does the middle market do when you get a $70 million program that has to last you for the next 20 years and you haven't done one? And oh, by the way, you're running a school district in the middle of a pandemic. And before you know it, how do I handle it? How do I procure things? What am I doing? Am I paying the right change orders? Am I doing the right things? Well, again, Ford has Ford Motor Land, but what does Allen Park Schools have? Well, at Cressa, that's why we were formed. We were formed to be a program management or an owner representation firm to help middle market organizations, particularly in the public sector, oversee large capital programs that are complex, robust, with a lot at stake. And that's what our organization is all about and who we are. And that is our job, is to help Mike and the team be good stewards of your dollars and overlook it. By way of example, we've worked with your construction management firm and the architecture firm a lot, and they're good firms. But let me ask you, you're counting on them to tell you what they ought to do, and you're paying them a percentage of what you tell them to do. So you're paying them a percentage, and they're going to tell you what to do. Where's the checks and balance? And that's why people hire us a lot, is they help us oversee the program. Because quite frankly, your administrators and you as board members, typically, your background is not in large capital programs. Your background is running a school system. Your background is education. How do you spend that much money on all these different facilities, and what's the right way to go about it? That's why our organization was formed. As Paul mentioned, he runs our K-12 practice. I run the public sector practice. So that means anything municipal, anything school district, anything not-for-profit, all fall under my preview. And then Paul just manages K-12. We're going to let Paul walk through the presentation. We want to be an iterative presentation along the way. Please ask questions. We're here to have dialogue. We'll try to make sure that we're cognizant of your timetable. We think we can get through it relatively quickly, maybe about 20 minutes, and then really leave some time for some Q&A and some time to just have general discussion. With that, Paul, I'm going to turn it over to you, and why don't you get us rolling?
Thanks, Greg.
Paul, you want me to share, or are you going to share?
Yeah, if you could share, that'd be great. Let you drive here. There we go. So as Greg mentioned, Plant Moran Cressa on the next slide, and again, we provide the slide deck, so if you've had a chance to take a look at it and come up with some questions for us and maybe some comments. Next slide. As Greg mentioned, as the owner, Allen Park Schools, so if you go through your contractual AIA documents, French Associates is really in charge of design, and Bart Mell is really in charge of construction. There's roughly 18 other specific items that relative to setting up the budgets, the owner's schedules, the cost management for change orders. Also, how do you handle all your other technologies? So we understand you may have Bart Mell technologies from a technology standpoint. So as Greg mentioned, Plant Moran Cressa is really formed to become the muscle or the eyes and ears of your facility and finance team. And in the upper right-hand side, the earlier that Plant Moran Cressa can get involved, and we'll give you some examples here, more oftentimes the higher return on investment. So again, we're not there necessarily counting bricks, but really understanding your program, understanding your goals and objectives to implement this $72 million bond program, and ultimately try to get you, as Kevin mentioned, the best bang for your buck of hard construction costs, not soft dollars going forward. Next slide. So again, some districts, they try to take on that day-to-day. So again, we always ask our clients, in the facilities and finance department, who has the extra 25, 30, 40 hours a week to take on a $72 million bond program. As Greg mentioned, oftentimes if the owner's not doing it, those owner-required activities are actually getting allocated towards the architect or the construction manager going forward. So again, over the last 20 years, with a lot of districts, both in your neighbors and across the state, we've been able to allow the owners really just focus on your primary goal, which is educating kids. So again, we're going to manage the day-to-day overall activities, making sure French is designing to your budgets and schedules within the quality that you're expecting, making sure Bart Mell, again, as the construction manager, that construction is underway and that you're getting good bid responses. And lastly, just let you sleep at night. So again, we're very proud that you don't see a lot of our names in papers because most of our clients have very successful implementation, and sometimes good news is the best news. Next slide. So on the left-hand side, we're not going to go through it, but again, we've helped a lot of districts plan their recent bond programs, such as Livonia Schools, Woodhaven, Oak Park, and Redford, et cetera. But really, it's that now the bond's passed, and so we're going to focus on that, confirming the bond program. So again, from a financial standpoint, we know you're working with your financial advisor. You're going to have your first series of bond sales. Understanding what that net construction deposit is, we utilize a software called eBuilder, which is a web-based portal that really allows you to track budgets to actuals. It's also a keeper of all your documents, so your facility team doesn't have to go look for as-builts, warranties, closeout documents, contracts. It's all in one portal that's for the district's purview. Understand what's your final site and space program. So remember, the bond application or the pre-programming oftentimes doesn't necessarily have phasing considered in it. So again, working with your principals and user groups from the owner's lens to make sure that things are getting done accordingly. That bond schedule, again, the owner is responsible for establishing the bond program. Bart Mallow will be responsible for the construction schedule itself. And the same thing with the budgets. Oftentimes we hear that an architect or CM says, don't worry, I'll track all the budgets. Again, that is an owner derivative activity from the AIA function. And last time I checked, Plant Moran's got a few accountants laying around that have been doing this for 20 plus years to really make sure that every penny is allocated for and that you've got a good cash flow, that you're hitting your goals and objectives, and potentially even earning some interest earnings with your deposits going forward. And then establishment of the governance. Again, we know Allen Park hasn't had a bond for a little bit of time. So again, what's that approval process through the facilities, through the finance? Again, the owner is responsible for signing off on general conditions. They're responsible for signing off on change orders. That's not an activity that can be allocated towards the architect or the CM. And ultimately, that falls on your finance or facilities team. And again, as Greg mentioned, 20 years ago, that's why we were formed, to really become those eyes and ears. And then lastly is just to implement the AE and CM contracts. So we've worked with a lot of bond counsels and legal counsels over the years. It's funny because you ask them, they say, hey, we set it up, but we don't actually get involved with the implementation. So who is actually defining that cost of work? We had one example with another district where the cost of work was different by $20 million. Well, as Greg mentioned, at let's say a 6% fee for the architect and let's say a 9 or 10% for the CM, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars of unallocated soft costs that really should be with the district's budget. So again, that's where the expertise and the eyes and ears of our team really comes to play. In terms of overseeing design, a lot of architects are busy right now. So we're going to make sure that A, they're drawing according to your schedule. And more importantly, they're giving you time as a district to really review those documents. A good example is we had a district with a new facility director came on board. Architect thought roofing system was one system. Facility director thought it was another. We saved $3 per square foot at $800,000. That's over $2 million of savings just by looking at the performance specifications of a roofing system. Same thing with construction. Again, understanding the budgets, the changes. Again, here's a change order from the CM. Well, where's potentially the change order credit for not doing particular scope of work? Right now, we're working with Barton Mallow and French, actually accelerating construction, looking at a multi-series bond to get more construction done up front because of the fact that escalation is going up so fast. That potentially get their bond program done almost a year early, which will save, again, hundreds of thousands of dollars of soft costs of general conditions, et cetera. And then lastly, the building commissioning and closeout. That's something that we oftentimes, it's that last 2% that people remember. Is your staff being trained in the particulars of how your buildings are going to operate? Are your field staff understanding like how to maintain your fields and again, try to limit your general fund dollars of maintaining these facilities in perpetuity going forward? So again, these are the owner respective activities. Kevin, if you go to the next slide. I'm not going to go through these specifically, but again, we highlighted on the implementation. Next one. Talk about the design process. Next one. And again, just understand your goals and objectives, really taking a look hard level from the owner's perspective. And Greg, I'll turn over to you here in just a second.
Okay.
Next one. And like I mentioned, project closeout. So again, you probably have a construction manager as an advisor. So congratulations, Mr. Dogger. You get to sign every single subcontractor bid that comes in across the table. And you are really contractually obligated as a district to do that. And again, Barton Mallow is a great firm. They're going to advise you on construction, but we really look at the subcontract levels as well and understand, what is that cost of value to successfully close these projects out going forward. So with that, I'm going to turn back to Greg.
If I could, let me ask a couple questions to the group. You guys have not done a bond issue in a while. Have you thought through some of the governance procedures that you want to stand by? And let me give you an example. At Belleville High School, we did Van Buren Schools. We built the new high school. They had a board that hadn't done a bond issue in a long time. And the first thing we recommended is to establish a set of policies and procedures that would govern the workings of the program. How we would procure different elements, how we procure professional services, hard services, what we would bid, what we wouldn't bid, where we need change order process procedures, et cetera. And one of the items we said is we recommend you make change orders, $25,000 and up, not to exceed 50. The CFO should be able to change as long as it's within contingency. Above that, Mike and the CFO both need it, and anything over $100,000, we need board approval. At that time, the board policy was any change order greater than $500, they needed a board concession and meeting to approve it. Literally the first day, within the first hour, the bulldozer comes out. Miss Dig did not catch all the drawings or didn't catch all the underground wiring. And immediately, the school district's in the admin building, and they hear all this rumbling like thunder and lightning going through the building. And it was because a backhoe had grabbed all the fiber and cable of the building and ripped it out through the ceiling in one fall swoop in the first hour of construction on the job. Imagine we had a board emergency meeting that night to approve the change order to fix that situation. The point being is their board was not prepared to really understand what managing a $72 million program is, how you go about it, etc. And before you know it, we're having board sessions every single night until they felt comfortable with the policies and procedures that we drafted up. That's one of the things we start off with. How are you going to function and make management decisions? How are you going to do approvals? How much say does the board want in the design documents, in the budget documents? How are you going to manage change orders, things of that nature? Paul mentioned talking about designing to a budget. In today's world, everyone knows prices are going through the roof. How do we make sure the architects design to the budget? Don't design too much that we can't afford it, and then we value engineer at the end and we come with a less inferior product. Or that they are so worried about it that they under-design the building, and now we have dollars left over and we could have built a better building than we should have. That's what our job is. We're going to have architects on staff helping oversee, basically being that checks and balance of French associates to make sure all that stuff is running smoothly. Where are we in shop drawings? Where are we in design review? Where are we going to do a page turn at 50% page turn? Are we going to do 100%? Where are we on mechanical and electrical drawings? Our staff is going to come in and help oversee and make sure all of that stuff is on track. Because if the architects say it and say, hey, we're good, but they miss it, now you could be in a world of hurt. Let me ask another question. You've hired Barton Mallow. Do you know what their staffing cost is? Because a large portion of their fee is their staffing. How many site superintendents are they going to have? How many project managers? How many project engineers? And all of that is part of their fee, which is very normal and appropriate. But the question is, do you need 3 superintendents, 5 superintendents, 8 superintendents, or 1 superintendent? You're paying for that. And my point is, nothing against Mike, but Mike's the superintendent of schools. He's running education. He doesn't necessarily always know how many superintendents we need to have on the job day in and day out. And he wants that independent advisor, that fiduciary beside him, helping oversee that. But typically, most school districts don't have that capacity because they don't do $70 million bond issues on a regular basis. There's no need to have that level of staffing and expertise on staff and on board to assist Mike and the team. That's really what we are. We're an internal real estate design and construction group that you can take off the shelf, hire us, help oversee and implement your program. Our fiduciary is only to you. And then at the end of the bond program, we walk away. And we've provided Mike and the team and yourselves an extra set of experienced folks that do this. As Paul mentioned, we do it for Woodhaven Schools, have been a client of mine for a long time. Livonia, you think of Southgate, Van Buren, Bedford, DPS. All of those districts, we've helped them implement their bond programs. By the way, the other thing that we do is not just K-12. We're a very robust program management firm or an owner's rep firm. Hopefully, before the pandemic hit, all of you got to be part of Little Caesars Arena and go to a concert or a game or what have you. Well, guess who built Little Caesars Arena and who was hired by the Illich family to be their owner's rep and help them oversee Barton Mallow to build the building? The Illiches hired Plant Moran Cressa to be their owner's representative to make sure, as Little Caesars Arena was being built, a $1 billion program, make sure that everything was on the up and up, run appropriately, efficiently, with an extra set of hands, eyes, and experience that acted on behalf of the Illich family to make sure the program was run right. Because quite frankly, they're good at entertainment and they're good at making pizza, but they don't build billion-dollar arenas very often. We do. We're working with Wayne State doing their arena. I mean, this is stuff that we do, capital programs, day in and day out. So I hope that kind of explains some of the services that we do. As Paul mentioned, we do it through a very robust PMIS system. That's a program management information system. We use eBuilder. That is an internal platform. It's a repository for all of your information. Legitimately, Mike will like it. He's on vacation in the Bahamas, and he finally gets away and can take his mind off COVID, and we need him to approve a change order. It all goes through this workflow right into his phone, and we can walk him through it no matter where he's at, anytime, 24/7. It's all live data. This is how we manage change orders, shop drawings, contracts, you name it. What we do is every quarter we provide a dashboard report, which you see up there in the right corner, to the district, to the board, and to the community that you post on your website to keep everyone abreast of what's going on. Where are we at? What are the issues? Where's the budget? Where's the schedule? How's the construction going? Are we making the most of our dollars? All of this we will institute and run with you to make sure that your program is running effectively and smoothly. I'm going to go ahead forward, Kevin. I mentioned a lot of our K-12 clients. We're very proud. We've been doing this for a long time. We've implemented over $1 billion of programs in the K-12 market. You name it, from the biggest schools, DPS, Grand Rapids schools, Livonia, Warren Consolidated Schools, Birmingham, Novi, Farmington. All of those clients are our clients that we help them with their bond programs. And if you know any of those board members, I would love it if you had a chance to check some references. Hopefully, Mike, you've had a chance to kind of check with some superintendents, things of that nature. We've run an awful lot of programs for a lot of districts because, again, we know most districts, when Proposal A came and changed everything, how funding is, you all know what a challenge funding is. And probably I'm betting, if I'm a betting man, at least 85% or thereabouts of your general fund goes straight towards salaries and programs of education. So the reality is a lot of your funds are these large capital programs that you only do once in a while that you have to ask the voters for. And now that they've given you the vote of confidence to manage and oversee $72 million, most districts like the helping hand that they know that the fiduciary is on their side. And that's really what we've done. You can go ahead, Kevin, one more, just flip through them. Bedford, Birmingham, we do the West Side, we do Grand Rapids, Caledonia. It's a very large practice area for us. You keep going, Kevin. Again, we love the opportunity. If you thought you wanted to follow up with anybody, we just appreciate you giving us the opportunity to potentially serve all of you. These are a couple other big programs we do. So, a lot of people, like we said in the beginning of the presentation, you've not heard of Plant Moran Cressa, but you've heard of Plant Moran. A lot of you know all these buildings, whether it's BAE up on Van Dyke, that building on the second to the right is Macomb County. We work with Hackle and the gang. We did their $70 million program and renovated all of the county facilities. Detroit Children's Hospital for DMC, that was our program, so on and so forth. And so really proud of everything we do. We do stuff in higher ed as well. Won't get into all that, but I think right now, really, I think we've got about 15 minutes left. And what we want to do is spend the first half hour really introducing ourselves, giving you a flavor for the services we provide, maybe some of the value that we can bring to the table, how we may be of assistance to Mike and the team and yourselves. And really what we'd like now is if you have any kind of questions regarding owner representation services or our organization, we thought, Mike, we would save the last 10, 15 minutes for Q&A, if that's okay. So at that point, Mike, I guess I'll turn it back over to you for right now, if that makes sense.
That does, Greg. And again, gentlemen, all three of you, we really do appreciate the presentation. And, as I stated to my board when Kevin and I were sharing some emails, and I shared the emails with our board, this is a new process for me in my team as a superintendent. We have, I believe there's actually only one board member that's on the board that was back when we were going through our first bond, and that was Gordon Miller. I think Gordon was a part of some of that work back then. So we've got a relatively new board also. So what I'd like to do is again, we got about 15 minutes or so roughly, 10, 15 minutes. I'll turn over to the board to see what kind of questions they might have, just to kind of get us going here a little bit, to see if there's any questions they have that you guys might be able to answer. So
I can round robin on Mike if that works for you.
Perfect. That sounds good, Jen. Thank you.
All right. We will start with Jeanette because you're the first one on my screen.
Well, all right. Just listening to what you had to say, will construction costs, which are all over the place now during this pandemic, impact or influence what will be done and when? I mean,
Yes.
Could you explain that a little bit, please?
Yeah, right now, to give you an idea, the construction index from last March to this March went up a little bit, about to 12.5%.
Right.
Raw materials are through the roof, and that's happening around the United States. In large part, that's because, you've heard the lumber stories with the fires and everything out west. So lumber's sky high. Texas, I think, is like the third or fourth, fifth largest GDP in the United States. Well, that freeze that they had back in February that everyone talked about, that broke all their plants. And when I say broke all their plants, what I mean is, it's not like they were just delayed a week or two because of the cold weather without power. When they came back, the pipes burst, right? All the equipment broke. And so we are a shortage of raw materials just in the United States alone. And then combine that with some of the outsourced stuff from China to India and Asia and so on and so forth of robust building materials. Material is very much at a shortage right now. So Jeanette, that's going to have a major impact on your program. The other thing that's going to happen is labor is less than robust in the Metro Detroit area. But by the way, you are going to be competing with a whole bunch of school districts. So by way of example, your neighbors that I just mentioned, Woodhaven, 144 million. Livonia Public Schools, 186 million. All these districts are all going out and working. By the way, prior to that, last year alone, I think there was over 25 bond issues that were greater than 50 million and up that passed. So Novi Schools passed 195 million or $185 million bond issue. Birmingham passed 195. Farmington passed one, so on and so forth. And so you have a very robust public sector. Well, why is that? Well, taxable values have went up even in the pandemic, and guess where interest rates are? They're low. So you have a strong tailwind. So managing construction inflation in the cost index, Jeanette, is going to be crucial. And we are actually starting to advise some clients, we may actually slow down because it's so hot right now. It's just incredibly hot market. Let's take advantage of technology and other issues and dabble on the edges. And maybe a year from now, we'll come back to a little bit reality. And we're working through our board members. We go to Livonia schools and we'll do a board workshop just on escalation, just on thinking through design, escalation, manpower that Barton Mallow can accumulate, how fast French and Associates can get drawings done, and really try to time out and really figure out what's the best bidding market. The one thing I would tell you with a May election, you're not going to get a lot done this summer, but you better start drawing and have a plan right away, because I'm going to tell you, all my other clients, we're bidding in November. Not January, not February, and definitely not March, April, and May. We're bidding in November and December. And so that means you've got less than, maybe 5-6 months to get things designed. That can be tough and challenging. So hopefully you got to make sure French is on top of it. That's part of what we do, is we help you with these workshops, thinking about escalation and managing the price of all these things. The good thing is your bond's in a multiple series, so we have some time to think through the strategy over a period of time and impact your dollars. Sorry for the long-winded response, but it's key of everyone's mind right now.
That was excellent. I mean, because these costs are driving me crazy. Obviously, our goal is to get the most we possibly can out of the money that was voted on. So, makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Jeanette, we're seeing right now where subcontractors used to hold prices for 30, 45, even 60 days.
Right.
Now your takeout leftovers have a longer refrigerator life in 3 days than some of the subcontractors. Well, I'm serious. There's some subcontractors that are saying you have 3 days. After 3 days, we're going to reprice it because that's how the fluctuation is so bad right now in the market.
Actually, Kevin and Greg, if I could, the other thing we've done, Jeanette, is look at some of the low-hanging fruit. So we just bid out 2 sections with Barton Mallow and French with another district, all the roofing and the paving and concrete. We actually ended up getting 7 bidders because we didn't have to get it done by August 1st or August 15th. It was actually phased construction, so we have to be done by November. But we're able to actually close $1 million budget to bid estimate, just looking at things strategically. So again, it's working with your professional team to really understand your goals and objectives to maximize dollars. Because if they would have waited, to Greg's point, until next spring to bid this out, asphalt prices go up every year, concrete prices go. So we try to lock in what I'll call it low design, like parking lots and sidewalks, not a lot of design there. But these are some big dollars that, again, we got some final numbers. We work with the finance team. We update the overall budget, and then, again, track it to see what other things we can potentially do with those savings.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, we like money saving. All right. Mike Klein, you're next.
No, actually, I'll pass. I'll just keep listening. Thanks.
All right. After Mike is Sarah.
My question was similar to Jeanette's. It took me 4 months to get one side of my house sided. So I would have liked to have had a project manager on that as well. So I have no other questions at this time.
One other thing I forgot to mention that I think really bodes well for our assistants in this timely topic. We oversee about $1 billion of construction in the last 5 years just in K-12. But overall, we probably oversee about $3 billion in construction across all industries, meaning corporate, healthcare. We did Botsford Hospital, Beaumont Hospital, DMC, et cetera. My point being is we have scalability. So when you think of, our ability to go and attract people to bids and get people involved, when you do the volume we do, combined with your CM of Barton Mallow, one of the largest CMs in the state and in the Midwest, between the two of us, we're a pretty powerful team that can help drive a lot of scale that you wouldn't normally get if you didn't have those resources at your fingertips. Because quite honestly, subcontractors want to make Barton Mallow happy. Barton Mallow and French want to make us happy because we do a lot of work and we bid them for a lot of stuff that they're going to be included on in bids and things of that nature. And so that scale that we can bring to you as a mid-sized organization that you couldn't normally get on your own, I think is one of the ways that we can team up with your existing CM and architect that can help bring value. Because remember, our fiduciary is to you, but we're part of the supply chain to work with those folks in conjunction with each other. And we want it to be a good working relationship where we can all add value to ultimately the kids at Allen Park.
Thank you. I'm going to pass it on to Laura now.
Hey, Kevin, real quick, could you go ahead and stop sharing your screen if you're done with the presentation? Perfect. Thank you.
I appreciate the presentation. I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
All right. That leaves me with you, Mr. Martin. You're up.
Yeah, so this is kind of right up my alley, and I'm kind of a nerd with this. So as Mr. Dargan knows, before I got on the board, I sent him a list of questions with just bidding practices. Greg, you mentioned plants that got shut down in Texas.
Yeah.
One of them was a plant. I don't know which specific plant, but I work for a company that plant I support is in Texas and Louisiana. We got shut down because of the freeze. Other plants got shut down, so we're back online, but raw materials were down. We're a commodity business. We supply chemicals into the company that make OSB, laminate board. So I know there's sky through the roof right now. It's good for my business because we're able to charge what we want right now.
Right.
Literally charge what we want because a lot of the other companies, Dow and whomever, Covestro, are still offline. Jeanette asked a great question because what we see in our business right now, and I build the forecast, working on a $600 million plan expansion where we see actually prices going down in Q3.
Yeah, that's why I said, Stephen, we were thinking, if you have multiple years and you have time to massage the dollars, as Paul said, we may want to come up with a strategy that is a low design process, get it bid in November, hit the ground running where we think we have controllable dollars, and then the following year we think prices are going to come back to normal, and then we may spend money. So managing that with your design team and your CM and thinking through it, and really, like I said, the other thing is you all have an important role to play. As Kevin mentioned, we can't get people to hold their prices for more than 3 to 5 days right now. So how are you going to have board meetings? You're like, hey, look, we're a 2 reading. I don't know if you are, but some school districts they read twice, right? So you bring the bids, 1 week, and then a week later or 2 weeks later is when we're actually approving the bids. Well, holy cow. Now those folks are putting an inflation meter on it, Stephen, to hold the bid that long, right? So they're putting an extra inflation meter on it, and I'm trying to get them to waive it. So how do we get them to waive it? So these are all the things that we're working through with you guys, trying to think through, and I get your pain, sir. When you said, it took 4 months to get your housing side, that's why we're talking the change order policy. What is the change order? Because time is money right now. And so we're thinking through how to move expeditiously, but cautiously at the same time, and make sure we're maximizing dollars, because that's what it's all about. Ultimately, when Mike, we did the presentation for Mike and the team, he asked the obvious question, well, what do you guys charge for this?
That was my next question. What's the fee? I didn't know if it was appropriate to ask in the setting.
No, I'm happy to do it. It's all open meeting stuff. We're fine with that. Depending on a final scope of work, normally our fee runs anywhere from 1.5% to 2.5% of whatever we're overseeing. And so let's just use 2% as the midpoint, if I could. If I can't save you 2 cents of every dollar through our experience, shame on me. We're going to create a positive rate of return on investment. Whatever you pay for us, you're going to get back in droves, in gallons. At least that's my ultimate goal. And you can talk to Mark Greathead and Andrea and Randy Liepa and a whole bunch of people, but we've got a strong track record of showing that if we charge 2% of whatever you ask us to help oversee and run, if I can't save 2 points with our knowledge and our experience, something's wrong. And so it's $2 for every 2 pennies for every dollar. Now, the way we do it, if I could, I'm also not asking you to commit to it long term. I'm not asking 2% on 72 million. I'm asking 2% on whatever you ask us to oversee and run and what the program is. And then, take it month by month. And if you don't like us, you can cancel us at 30 days notice. What we ask is give us 6 months up front to show our mettle. Okay. But after 6 months, we're a month-to-month contract. You can get rid of us anytime. And so we think we offer that up with a lot of confidence that we'll be able in 6 months to demonstrate some value. We know that we're charging roughly 2%. And like I said, 2% of every dollar, 2 cents. If I can't save you 2 cents of every dollar you spend on construction, just through some creative things that we do and the scalability that we can bring, shame on us. And look, the Illiches, the DMC, none of those folks would hire us if we didn't do it. And none of these K-12 districts would either. So that's kind of how we charge. It'll ultimately, if you think you want to move forward, we sit down with Mike and really hammer out exactly what he thinks he needs help with, what he thinks he's got covered, and we'll detail a scope item out for you. And then we'll put a fee basis to it, and we'll come back for your consideration. But I feel pretty comfortable about it. And that's how we normally go about charging, Stephen, if that answers your question.
And Greg, if I could real quick. So the good thing is we're actually paid out of bond proceeds, not out of general fund dollars. So again, and if you go back to that 3 bubble diagram we had at the beginning that Kevin showed, the owner, the architect, CM, an owner's rep is actually an inherent cost to the program, not an additional cost. So again, at 2%, you can do it yourself, but we know your staff is focusing on educating kids. Again, that's why Plant Moran Crest was hired. Then obviously the architect and CM can do it, but obviously their fees are much different than the owner's rep fees. So go ahead, Steve.
No, that's kind of where I was going, because I know we see customers now where they're locking in and they were pre-buying and now are either pushing out to Q3, Q4, and we're locked in. So they're being creative. So that's kind of where I was at. If we're, creative methods to save money and not just hopping into tearing down a building and going right now when construction costs and labor costs are through the roof. Because, we see that all that I monitor every day.
Well, let me give you one more example. And like I said, we want to work with your CM firm and your architect firm, but there are some areas that Paul mentioned. How many of you hire a general contractor to put a new roof on your house? I'd say none. You just hire.
Yeah, I agree.
I see Laura talking, but you're on mute, Laura.
Laura hired the roofing contractor. Yep.
But a lot of folks, when you need a new roof on a house, you go to the roofing company. Well, how does the school district do it? Well, if you got 1 million square feet at $10 a foot, it's $10 million. By the way, your soft cost is probably anywhere from 15 to 20%.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why wouldn't you just go to the roofing company and put new roofs on and oversee it? Well, you can do that when you have an owner's rep firm. You can't do it when you're Mike and you're running the district and you're answering questions about curriculum. And so, these are ways that we sit down with you and try to think through creative measures. To your point, Stephen, how we try to maximize those dollars for the district and make them stretch as far as they can. Now, I'm not trying to cut those guys out and say they shouldn't do it, but it's a simple roof. I mean, that, it's right. Like, look, on my house, if I do a major construction project, I'm hiring a general contractor. But if I'm putting a roof on, I'm just going straight to the roofer. If I'm putting windows in, I'm probably going wall side window and that's it. That's my phone call. Versus bringing in a general contractor that's going to put a fee on top of it. So our job is to make an efficient, effective program, and be your fiduciary, and be a set of experienced set of hands, arms, legs for Mike and the team and yourselves. And we have to show our value, and that's how we do it. So to some degree, we want to work great with your supply chain. On the other hand, we're a little bit of a watchdog that we got to make sure that we're watching out on the district and being their fiduciary. So we tend to call it co-opetition. We want to cooperate, and sometimes we're going to compete with ideas of how to go about, running a $72 million program.
So then the final question, you said at the end of the bond, you guys get up and walk away. I'm guessing you were just saying that. Because I would assume you would have some kind of.
Absolutely.
Actually, Stephen, one of the things we've done very successfully with working with your legal counsel is put basically a 6-month, a 12-month, and 18-month walk back through with your architect and CM teams, as well as the contractors. That gives the district 1.5 cycles of winter, spring, summer, fall, winter. Right. So again, that you get your facilities teams on board. They're saying, hey, I've got a 2-year warranty. So it's not your traditional 12-month. We're actually been very successful working with Bart Metal and the prime contractors to get that 24-month warranty. But those walkthroughs that 6, 12, and 18-month are so important because you do get the user groups to get their eyes like, hey, I've gone through half a cycle, what's happening? And again, that some districts, they don't have that. And when it's happening, the facility guy just takes out a general fund, which, by the way, you paid bond funds. So
things that's that 2-year, right? Just like at a house. So exactly.
Got it.
One last thing is, one of the folks on our team, we're going to supply an accountant to the district. So imagine you got 72 million you now have to account for. So we're going to bring a PCA on board, a project cost accountant that's going to work eBuilder and help your organization track all the funds. You're going to have thousands of POs by the time it's all said and done over the series of the bond. So we're pretty good at accounting at Plant Moran too. I like to think, we're Crest is the big, organization, but really it's the firm is a big accounting firm too. And so we've got plenty of accountants. And so one of the things we do as part of our services, we bring a project cost accountant in because we know that you've got a lot of accounting and POs and it's just a lot of clerk of the work stuff, which we're going to, take charge of and help oversee as part of our services. And that all goes back to that eBuilder platform.
Perfect. I know several accountants myself. Thanks for your time, guys.
Awesome.
By
Thank you guys.
the way, Stephen, I won't get up and walk away. I'll still be sitting in Allen Park. So you'll be
I was just thinking the same thing. Kevin, we know where you live.
That's exactly right.
And I just want to ask 2 quick questions just because I know I want to be able to give everybody a break before our board meeting starts. I know you were saying that you have some certain software that you guys will be using, especially for like the funding and stuff like that. Will somebody be able to work hand in hand with Tiffany with that? Because obviously she's the woman we trust the most when it comes to stuff like that. So I want to make sure that her like hand will be held with this new software and stuff like that.
That project cost accountant, that's their job.
Okay.
Is they come out and sit down with Tiffany and go through all of that stuff on a weekly basis.
Perfect. I like weekly.
You'll see them as much as you'll see the construction folks.
Okay, good. And then I definitely understand the interest in this. My husband is a project manager engineer, so I definitely get that without a doubt, the need for it. Kevin, if we do something like this, would you be working with everybody doing this?
Yeah, I'd definitely be part of the team.
Okay. The only reason I'm asking is, I mean, what a bonus, right? To have a glorified Alan Parker whose heart and soul is in that building, in that field, in those desks. I think that's amazing. So
no, absolutely. I'd be definitely part of the day-to-day operations on the team. So it'd be great because I've missed it for 2 years, not being able to be involved with anything. So it'd be awesome.
You could come back anytime, Kev.
I know. I've got people pinging me about that. So.
Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you guys so very much. We really appreciate you. I'm going to let Mike say his thank yous, and then we will adjourn.
Again, everybody, I really appreciate your time this evening. Outstanding presentation. I also really appreciate that you guys built in time for questions and answers. We obviously will have more questions. I'll be meeting with the group again probably next week, just to kind of recap this meeting, talking about some of the stuff and where we stand with stuff. So Kevin, as well as Greg and Paul, I'm sure I'll be reaching out to you again. But again, thank you for tonight. It gave us a lot to think about. Again, this is a new process for the vast majority of my entire team, including board members. So again, we're looking forward to moving in a positive direction, and I'll definitely keep you updated. I'm going to have Jen go ahead and adjourn us, and then we can go ahead and take a break before 7 o'clock.
Absolutely. Thank you guys again so very much. I'm going to look for motions to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. We'll see you guys at 7
Good
o'clock.
evening.
Go Jags.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody. Go Jags.
We'll see you.
Welcome to a virtual meeting of the Allen Park Board of Education. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, the state and the Wayne County Public Health Department have put up regulations in place to protect public health and still enable local governing bodies to hold public meetings. In response to the recent significant increase in new COVID-19 cases in Wayne County, the Wayne County Health Department issued an emergency epidemic order in response to the COVID-19 pandemic under MCL 333.2453, declaration of continued emergency due to COVID-19 to allow public meetings of governmental bodies to be held remotely under Public Act 228 of 2020 from March 31st, 2021 to May 31st, 2021. On behalf of my colleagues, the board appreciates the high level of interest, passion, and input from the Allen Park School community. It is for these reasons our community continues to stay strong. Please continue to keep your focus on taking care of yourselves, your families, and each other. This evening, citizens who wish to express public comments may do so by accessing the online citizens comment form located on the district website. The homepage has a link that will lead you to the form as well as to this evening's agenda. Your comments or questions pertaining to an agenda item will be read during item number 7. Comments or questions pertaining to non-agenda items will be read during item number 13. Comment forms will be accepted up until that time of the meeting. Prior to this meeting, board members and presenters ran a test of the system. Please note, no business took place. It was merely a technology test. And with that, I would ask everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Radowski, if we could have a roll call, please.
Good evening, Mrs. Filipiak.
I am here.
Mr. Klein.
Here.
Mrs. Lukey.
Present.
Mrs. McDonald.
Here.
Mr. Martin.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
And Dr. Warren.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll seek approval of the consent agenda items, which includes approval of this evening's agenda with one exception. Posted, we had 11B1 APHS football camp, Alma College. I understand that's going to be pulled from the agenda. Everything else remaining the same. Approval of registers for April 9th, April 23rd, May 4th, and May 7th, and approval of wire transfers from April 8th through May 13th.
Motion. Support.
Okay, been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. President's communications. Other than thanking the community for the overwhelming support for our May 2021 bond vote and what that will mean to our stakeholders throughout the district, students, employees, and homeowners and business owners throughout the community. I want to say a great thank you very much. And specifically all those who put a lot of effort and time into the process of distributing signs, going door to door, posting support for the bond vote. Your efforts paid off, and our community and district will be greater for it. So thank you for that. I have no other communications. Ms. Filipiak, any communications?
Yes, I would like to read a lovely thank you letter sent from the Guidance Center. It says, "Dear Superintendent Darga, we are especially thankful for you and your support of the Guidance Center's Kids Talk Children's Advocacy Center. It is gifts from people like you who care that allow us to touch the lives of thousands of adults and children every year. Your contribution of $1,063 during charity weeks helped to fortify the center and the services it provides. Because we have been out of the office due to the agency's response to COVID-19 working restrictions, we feel very badly that so much time has lapsed in sending this thank you letter and receipt. Normally our practice is to do so within 2 days of receiving a donation. We appreciate your understanding and patience. Please know how much we value your support, especially in the last few months. Your help is now more critical than ever. With your help, together we nurture development, foster resilience, cultivate well-being. With gratitude, Alexander Sebastian from the Guidance Center. And that was thanking our students for the work they did during Charity Week. And that is all the communications I have.
Okay, thank you for that. Moving on to citizens' comments, Dr. Tefelsky.
Yes, sir. We have one comment. Let me make sure that we didn't have any that came in. Nope, just one from Adam Schroeder. Good evening, school board members and Mr. Darga. Some of my fellow students and I are having growing concerns regarding the availability of AP classes at the high school for the coming school year. Many of the students rely on these classes to remain competitive in the college application process, especially for higher tier colleges. It has come to my attention that several AP classes are in jeopardy of being canceled altogether. I know that Allen Park prides itself on being academically competitive with other downriver districts. It is unfortunate that the cancellation of these classes could affect our probability of being accepted to colleges of our choice. Furthermore, it is difficult to determine whether or not to go the dual enrollment route when the AP classes have not been confirmed as to running or not. Oftentimes, the students don't know the final class schedule until August, and that is way too late for dual enrollment. I recognize that some of these classes are in jeopardy of being canceled due to lower enrollment. However, if we truly value our academic integrity, a vigorous effort should be made to keep these classes available. Thank you. And that is it.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tefelsky. We'll move on to item 8, presentation regarding the May 2021 bond updates. Mr. Darga.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I appreciate seeing our board this evening, and also appreciate those in attendance. It's exciting times for Allen Park Public Schools. Thank you to the school community for your overwhelming support of the May 2021 bond. This is a community that cares deeply about educating our students with an uncompromising commitment to excellence. Strong schools build strong communities, and strong communities support strong schools. Special thanks to the committee support Allen Park Public Schools, chaired by Mr. Dan Lloyd. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Barton Mallow. We have a May 2021 bond update with our representative, Barton Mallow. I'd like to welcome in this evening Paul Twigg, Stephanie Hatchie, Michael Stoback, and Lindsay Johnson Lemieux. And at this time, Stephanie, I'll turn it over to you and your team. Welcome to Allen Park.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for having us today. We're here to give you a quick update on the bond. We're so excited to be working with you all and just have a little bit of information to share. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see. Oops. It's working. Maybe. Do you see my PowerPoint?
We do. Yes, yes.
Okay. So first off, congratulations. Like I said, this is so exciting for your community and all your students in Allen Park, and we are beyond excited to be working in your district. Just to give you a little bit of introduction into our team. I know I've met some of you before in some previous presentations, but I'm Stephanie Hatchie, project executive for Barton Mallow, and I'll sort of handle things at sort of a high level with our group. But here you can see an org chart. So you have us as Barton Mallow as your construction manager, you have French Associates as your architect, and we have worked together with French on many bond issues over the years, sinking funds, lots of different projects with French. I know just right now we're working with them off the top of my head in Gibraltar, Midland, Waterford, Anchor Bay. So we have a lot of experience with French, and we'll present a strong team to get your projects done successfully. Looking at the rest of our team there, you can see Mike Stoback, he's our vice president. He's on the meeting as well. We'll have a project manager. Under Jason, the project manager, will have a project supervisor. We actually call them superintendents in the construction world, but that gets a little confusing because I know Mr. Darga will not be on site running construction work unless you want to. Project engineer and a project accountant. So we have a project accountant that will help Tiffany, that handles all of the accounting needs for this project. We'll track the entire bond issue. So not just the construction piece of it. There's some other parts of the bond. There's furniture, things like buses, but we track the entire amount so that we can give you reports that, show you the full picture, the whole $72 million. And then you can see on the French side, there's Dale Jerome, who you met, and he'll have a project manager under him. And then there'll be multiple consultants under that. So the mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, those type of people. So we'll have a full team, dedicated to Allen Park to make sure that your projects go smoothly. So talking about the bond, I'm not sure if all of you know the number. It's $74,215,000 is the amount of the bond, and it will be sold in 3 series. So you can see on the slide there the amount of each series. Series 1, the first one will be sold soon, in June, working with your financial consultants. I believe it's Baker Tilly. So that's $23.1 million. 2 years later, you'll do another $23.1 million, and then 2 years after that, $27.8 million. So you don't get the full chunk of money all at once. It's spread out every 2 years. So knowing that information, we work with the district to figure out which projects will go in which series. So obviously you can't do everything all at once. That would, it's just physically impossible. In addition to the money, doesn't come all at once. So our team, led by Jeff Adkins, who is not on the call today, but he does our bond planning. So he was the one who walked through the buildings, worked with the engineers to determine, and your staff to determine what work needed to be done, created the bond application that went to the state of Michigan to be reviewed by Treasury, so then it could be on the ballot. So every one of the projects you can see on the left there, that's a list of, a school with the projects, and that orange highlighted area, it has a series assigned to it. So we have to make sure that any project we do in series 1, that it doesn't exceed the $23 million that you'll have for series 1. So looking at that list, you can see there's a lot of information on the bond application. So we take that, and this next slide I just want to say is just preliminary, just to give you an idea of what we'll do, and we'll work with your administration and with French to determine, what's the best order to do these projects, looking at current market conditions. Obviously, the world is a different place than it was, 15 months ago or so. I'm not sure all of you are aware, but construction, prices have gone up, it's hard to get items. So, we're on top of that. We're working with French and your administration to just figure out which projects we can get done. Also knowing the bidding, timelines, that you have to have, a proper amount of time to bid something out. You can't bid it too late, or else, because of the way the labor market is, you won't get good bids on a project. So we just took a preliminary look, one potential way to break down these projects. We did meet earlier this week with Mr. Darka and his team to just, talk through this, but said, take a look, let us know what you think. We can move things around, shift things around. So you can see in series 1, currently, there's some work at the high school and the middle school addition. Series 2 would be elementary additions, elementary remodels, and the remaining high school remodeling. And then series 3, which was the last series in 2023, which was the biggest series, kind of has, the rest of the work. And for those of you doing quick math, if you add all of that up, it does not exactly equal the $72 million. There's also some one-off projects that will fit in as we can. And we'll look at, things like roof replacements. Maybe there are some roofs that need to be replaced sooner. So we can, adjust those and put those in series 1 and just balance it out and move something else to series 3. So, that's what we do. We'll take a look. We'll work with your district to just make sure that things are happening when they need to happen in the buildings, but also when it makes sense with the market, to make sure that you're, getting the best deal and not spending more money than you need to, because we want to stretch these dollars to give you every single bit of construction you can get for your buildings. So those first 2 slides were construction projects. Talking about technology, so Barton Mallow is handling the technology design on this project as well. They're part of the team. And So technology is interesting because some of it's bid out as its own piece. So we probably district-wide bid out things like security. You want the same security system, through the same cameras throughout the whole district. You want the same phone system throughout the whole district. Other things like E-rate bid packages, Paul and Lindsay and their team would work with the district to figure out which things are E-rate eligible. And those are like a special type of bid where you can get savings on those types of items. So things like network, wireless, and cabling. So Paul and Lindsay are experts on that and can work with you to make sure that you're making the best use of those E-rate bid packages. Some of the technology stuff will be bid with the construction part. So if we're renovating a building, we might bid some of the technology things, with the construction. So if we're doing a STEM addition, we're going to bid the technology that goes in that STEM addition, perhaps with the construction. There's also some equipment that we'll work with you on, like devices, student devices, teachers' devices. And then for series, those were all series 1 items. Series 2 and 3 are just refreshes, so that your computers will last, when they are out of date and out of warranty, then you're able to buy new computers. So taking that preliminary schedule and putting it in kind of a schedule format, this is just one potential option. Like I said, this is all preliminary of, when things could happen. So I just took all those different bid packages and put them in a schedule form. You can see the gray is the design piece. So we need to give French ample time to design these projects. The blue is bidding. So the projects, there are state laws that tell us how we have to bid things for bond issues. So we make sure we have enough time so that we cover all of our bases. And we have a very large bidding pool at Barton Malow. We are the largest construction manager in the state, both doing K-12 and just construction manager in general. We also build, hospitals and stadiums and automotive facilities. So we have a large bidding pool. We can reach out to a lot of contractors, which is really important in this market where labor is sometimes hard to come by. Orange, or the kind of yellowish orange, is procurement. So like I said, these days, sometimes it takes just a crazy long time to get material. So we make sure, we stay on top of that, make sure that we're bidding it in time so that we can get the approvals necessary to order the material so that it's here when we need it. And then the red is the construction period. So that's when we're actually shovels in the ground, tearing up your buildings and making them look new again. Right. So once that all gets figured out, then we can move into design. So we have to decide which order the projects go in, and then we can start working with French and with your district and your principals and teachers and administration to work on the design. And so just a quick, I don't know if I'll informed all of you are on the design process, but there are kind of 3 main phases of design when you're designing a project. The first is schematic design. So that's the first one. It's sort of rough in nature. You're just sort of figuring out the spaces, refining the scope, defining the use, like what's this room going to be used for. The drawings are not super complete. You might just have a couple of sheets of drawings giving you kind of a basic floor plan. So French will do a schematic design set. We'll have an estimate that Barton Malow will do to make sure that we're staying on the budget that was established. Then you move into design development. Now things are getting more refined. You're having, instead of just a few sheets, there's maybe a whole set of drawings. You don't have all the details, but you're figuring it out. There's more mechanical and electrical scope with the drawings. You're determining materials. We knew in schematic you were going to put carpet in, but now in design development, it's like, what type of carpet or what type of ceiling tile? We also do an estimate at design development. Our team, they're experts on construction pricing. They stay up to date with market conditions. We'll do an estimate. We'll review it with the whole team to make sure that we're still staying on budget or preferably under budget. And then finally you get to construction documents, and those are, what is put out to bid. So that's what we send out to contractors to get pricing on. Before we do that, we walk through, we do a page turn with, the important parties with the district to make sure that this is exactly what, everyone understands what the scope is and that it meets the need. So looking on the right there, there's a schedule that we make. So we do this for every bid pack. It lays out the different phases. It gives dates. It sets meeting dates for, we're going to have a schematic design estimate on May 4th. We're going to all sit down and review it all the way through to the bid phase, where we're going to go out to bid on November 17th, and bids are due on, December 10th, and the board meeting is December 22nd. So we lay all of that out for every bid package so that we're making sure we're bidding at the most opportune time. We're giving French and the district enough time to make decisions that they need to make, but everyone knows what the expectation is, because it's really important that you go out to bid on time. If you go out to bid, like I said, in this labor market, it's like after, November sometimes, it's hard to get good bids. So we make sure that we establish that right up front so that everyone knows what they need to do to meet those dates. Next steps. So we need to finalize the design and bid schedule. So those few slides that I said were preliminary, we need to work to make sure that we have that nailed down, at least the first couple bid packs, so we know, what French can go start designing. We'll have a finance kickoff meeting with our accountant and with Tiffany to make sure that we set up our budget exactly how she needs to see it, so that we can run reports. Like I said, we do the whole financial, everything from our construction, our technology work, to stuff that the district buys directly. We track all of that so that you have the complete picture of the bond, and we can run any report you need to give you the information. We'll work with, during audit time, you get audited once a year. We know what reports you need, what information you need. So we'll establish all of that at the finance kickoff meeting. We'll have a design kickoff meeting with French associates and the appropriate parties, a technology kickoff meeting with Paul and Lindsay and their team in your tech department. We'll establish reoccurring meetings. So typically we have an owner, architect, construction meeting where the whole team comes together. It might be monthly, it might be bi-weekly, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. And then also kind of the first sort of construction activity, we'll schedule survey work and soil boring. So we know we're doing some additions. I don't believe the district has had surveys done in probably since your last bond, so it's probably been 20 years, so they're out of date. So we'll get some surveys of your property, some soil borings so that we know what ground conditions we're working with, so that when the time comes for those additions, we're ready to go. So that was all I had. Does anyone have any questions?
At this time, we can go ahead and open it up. And I did ask the team from Bart Mello to allow time for some questions from the board. We know we've got a ton of meetings coming up. We're extremely excited, and I appreciate Stephanie and the team being here to present this information. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and I was, of course, taking notes like you are, reestablishing bond committees for all of our board members as well. So you guys will be actively involved with every step of the process. But I'd like to go ahead and open it up real quick. We don't want to spend a lot of time, but if there's any basic questions that the team from Bart Mello could go ahead and answer, we'll do that, and then we'll go ahead and be able to move on.
I have a question. Just after hearing the previous presentation and then hearing everything that Ms. Hatchie just had to say, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. They use the term low design prioritizing. So you're saying you're going to look at market conditions, costs, all of that, in the same sort of thing that if you're saying let's do concrete now because it's more feasible and pricing and this and that, and let's do this later, tech now and that later, you're
Correct.
taking all of that same sort of thing into consideration.
We do, and we look at, like I said, it's just a weird market right now. So we'll look at, and we look at design schedules, knowing that, it might not take as long to design one project over another. So maybe we can get something out to bid sooner, just because French doesn't need as much time to design it.
Understood. Thank you. And then you also said that there was the bracket, I didn't write it all down, but there was a box I believe it said that there was an account manager or a accounting manager, and that person works closely with Tiffany.
Correct. Yep. We'll have a project accountant that is dedicated to Allen Park that will work with Tiffany to give her the information she needs, and they put together our billings. So, you just have to, Tiffany will just write one check and we take care of paying everyone. Just anything we can do to we know you have students to educate, so try to make your lives easier.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Stephanie, this is Jeanette McDonald. Do you have experience working with Plant Moran Cresa? I don't know if I've said that right.
Yeah, I do. We have worked with them. I would say, I don't know, Mike, maybe you can jump in, but probably 90-something% of our bonds, we do not have an owner's rep. But we have worked with Plant Moran Cresa before.
Okay. Sounds like there's a fair amount, like Laura said, of overlap of duties here. I guess I'd like a better understanding of that.
Yeah, we're a full service CM, so we take care of pretty much everything you would need to make your project run smoothly, from the construction, but also, we coordinate the design. So we work with French to make sure that they're on track with their design schedules. We do the accounting. Like I said, everything we can do to make your lives easier. And the majority of the time we do not work with bond coordinators.
I mean, there's probably several examples we can give you to call of people that were working in conjunction with French. And, hey, our job is to make sure we keep professional costs as low as possible. So you're putting as much as you can into your bond program, into your actual purchases and your classrooms and your technology and all the other things. So, if there's any concern over whether the Bart Mallow French team would adequately handle things for the district, I think your best bet really is to talk to your friends in other school districts and see how they, enjoy our services.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? Real quick. And again, as far we are able to host, board workshops as well, and bring back Bart Mallow. And we will be creating a schedule, as the Bart Mallow team stated. We will be creating a schedule with the board members. We'll be expecting, updates as we go through the process. But once we start these kickoff meetings, I think a lot more of these types of issues will be discussed openly. Again, we're able to host a board workshop when we need one, to answer any more questions. I know that Stephanie and her team have made themselves available. So if there's questions that you may have, we're always able to reach out to that team as well. They've been pretty available throughout this entire process. So that's greatly appreciated. All right, Mr. Miller, I think we're ready to move forward. I would like to thank, of course, Stephanie, your team, Bart Mallow, for joining us this evening. Outstanding presentation. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good evening, everyone.
All right, you too. Thank you for attending. Good information there. We'll move forward on the agenda then to item 9, personnel, employment services. Mr. Darga.
Very good, sir. Thank you. Employment services, we are recommending that the individuals as listed be employed. The candidates were interviewed and recommended by committee. As appropriate, background checks have been conducted. Suggested motion that the recommendation for employment and services be approved by the board for the individuals as presented. Nicole Atkins, independent paraprofessional, Allen Park Middle School. Paula Consiglio, Marsh, substitute teacher, secondary. Nicole Cummings, food service, Allen Park High School. Jason Gomez, volunteer 7th grade softball coach, Allen Park Middle School. Brooke Tack, JV volleyball coach, Allen Park High School.
Motion.
Support.
All right, been moved and supported. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Mr. Darga, resignations, retirements.
Thank you. We have received and accepted the following retirements and resignations. Gail Crete, Secretary, Lindeman, retirement effective 6/30. Gail Heggie, Preschool leader, teacher leader Lindemann, retirement effective 6/30. Megan Johnson, JV volleyball coach, and Brooke Tack, freshman volleyball coach, Allen Park High School. We will be celebrating the retirements on the June 7th Board of Education meeting.
Okay. Thank you for that. Moving on to item 10, presentation of financial information. Mrs. Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to present my screen. Let me know if you guys can see that.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Perfect. Okay, so this is the proposed budget for the general fund for the 21-22 school year. And my first slide is estimated revenue based on budget assumptions. So state funding I have based on 3,800, which has kind of been our sweet spot. State funding includes a per pupil increase of $84. The $84 I got from my most recent MSBO information based on the Governor, Senate, and House proposals. It is fairly low on the scale of the increase. So I thought that was a conservative number to go with. State aid categorical lines remain the same at this time. Examples of those are 31A or at-risk dollars, 152A, data collection, 51F, special ed reimbursements. There are more, but I just wanted to list just a few of those in case you guys have probably heard us talk about those, especially the 31A funds. Grant preliminary amounts such as IDA and titles are not available yet for the 21-22 year, so those remain the same. I did want to just put a note on here that ESSER 3 is in the works for next school year. We do not know our exact allocation yet, so I just wanted to throw that out there that we will be getting more ESSER funding in the next school year. And our local property tax decreased slightly, about $54,000 based on the 4028 we received from the county. Our 18 mills is still restored due to our Headley override. The decrease is due to the non-principal residents. That taxable value has decreased about $3 million in total. So we get 18 mills of that. So that is not the same as the housing market. This is the commercial side of taxable value. So that decreased slightly. Again, so the revenue is kind of assumptions because the two largest drivers here are state aid, which we don't know our state aid count for next year. And we obviously don't know what our foundation allowance will be for next year. And the next slide is estimated expenditures. These are the budget facts that I know as of today. So the budget includes salary increases and steps for all groups and employees. Includes 6 teacher replacements at MA Step 1, which for the 21-22 school year is starting at $46,000. Includes 1 FTE for a school nurse. Includes contracted services for the equity position. That is expected to be paid for out of grant funding or 31A funding. Includes a hard cap increase for our healthcare insurance starting January of 22 through June. Includes the new ORS effective rates beginning 10/1/21 through 9/30 of 22. We have like 15 ORS plans. I just list the one that is the largest in percentage. So the basic MIP went from 28.21 to 28.23, which is not that bad, but the UAAL, which is the unfunded portion of the ORS, increased from 14.51 to 15.05. So for total budgeting purposes, we're up a little over 0.5%. And then I did put in the remainder of our ESSER 2 funds that I know of as of today, which is $530,271. This is in the expenditures as well as in the revenue because they are matching funds. And then the last slide before questions is just the budget summary. So every time I do an amendment or the proposed budget, I'm always working off of our most recent audit because that is our true fund balance. So that's why you see the audit for 1920 and then my budget amendment from January and then now the proposed budget. So the timing is a little bit weird to do a proposed budget without knowing, right, the missing piece, which is the final budget. That's going to be the key player in this proposed for next year, but due to timing and presenting, we have to do it a little bit early. So this is what I know of as today. Total revenue is 39.9 million. Total expenditures 40,328,000, which is an operating deficit of 420,000. And then I have the fund equity shown as 2 percentages. The 10.62 is based on revenue. That's how I show it because that's how Department of Treasury, that's how they look at it for that 5% threshold. But in our audit, it's a percentage of expenditures. So I just like to show them it 2 different ways. And that is all that I have.
Okay, thank you. We should probably go around the horn for any questions. Why don't we start with Mrs. Flipiak?
I was just curious, when you budget the 6 teachers at the 46,000, is that all that we offer competitive? Like, so that what you're saying with that is that we know we're most likely we have to replace 6 teachers, and this is the rate at which we will replace them. Is that what we're allowed contractually, or if we're in a competitive job market, are we able to offer more, that kind of thing? And how does that figure into it?
So and I don't want to overspeak or step on anybody's toes, but we are able to hire greater than MA1. I put MA1 in because, we may get some that are just BA1, which is a few $1,000s less. Also, when I do budget for the retirements, I budget down for the salary at 46,000 plus retirement, but I also don't take out the benefits. So, if you hire on and you don't take healthcare, but somebody who retired did, you're going to get the in lieu, but that's still like a $10,000 difference. So I don't take those things out because I don't quite know like who's going to replace who or how that's going to work out. So there's a little bit of wiggle room for, I guess, hiring higher than step 1, if that makes sense.
No, I was just curious how you figured that out and made sure it was balanced. Thank you so much, Tiffany. You're awesome.
Thanks.
Okay, Mrs. Lukey.
Thanks for the presentation. I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Martin?
No real questions. This is just again, accounting nerd look. Central services I see is going up 20%, 1.5 million versus 867. Do we know what's going there, Tiffany? And if you don't, that's fine.
So, I have my budget sheet up here, central services. So this is where I put in my director of equity position. This is like total transparency. This is how I do all of my numbers. So this is the function I put the director of equity position in. And then I also still have the remainder of the director of HR position there because that position has not been totally absorbed. It's being split. So once I get information that we are no longer going to hire a director of HR position, then I would take out that leftover balance from that salary that's not being split, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
Okay.
That was it. That's all I had. Thanks, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Dr. Warren.
Hi, Tiff. Thanks again for everything. You did say that the director of equity position would not be coming out of our general fund budget, like how we pay our instructors and our administration, correct? Can you explain that for a second?
Correct. So the information I have received is we are probably going to pay for that out of title or out of 31A.
31A.
31A?
Yeah, so there's a gap in our 31A budget. Last year, Wayne Risa, when they were applying for funding, received grants to pay for reading specialists for every district. We took advantage of that, and so they are supplanting one of our reading specialists for a guaranteed 2-year contract. That reading specialist previously was paid for out of 31A. So since she is no longer in there, we have this amount of money that was paying for her salary in 31A that can be used to pay for a director of equity.
And can you give just a quick explanation? I have now learned what all these mnemonics mean, but can you give a quick explanation for those out there that do not know what 31A is, what that is?
Yeah, so 31A is at-risk funding. It's for students typically who are on free or reduced lunch, are considered homeless through the McKinney-Vento Act, are academically behind in English or math and have a history or a familial history of struggling in school or not graduating from school. And so when you combine all of those factors, you used to have 2 of those factors to be considered 31A. Now you only need 1 of those factors. So it's a relatively large population of our student body meets at least 1 of those factors. And so in turn, it's a lot of money. This year, just over $1 million.
I can't really hear you. You're a little bit muffled, but I think you asked me how much it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This year we're at $1,025,000 and some change.
Awesome. I really appreciate you guys and the knowledge that you guys have on hand, just right at key, ready to go. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, Mrs. McDonald.
My question was actually regarding those 6 teacher positions as well, and wondering why we're hiring at master's step 1 level. But you explained it beautifully, Tiffany. So thank you.
You are welcome.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Klein.
Just a quick one. Enhancement millage money is not in there, correct?
That's correct.
That's it. So okay, so that's just a little bit more of a safety net if we needed it.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Hello.
Okay. We went around. Sounded like everybody had just 1 or 2 questions that got answered. Raise your hand if you've got another question that came up during the sequence. Otherwise, we will move on. Okay. Moving forward. Thank you again, Mrs. Keith, for all of the great information this evening. And we'll look forward to the public hearing and the passage of the budget later this year. Moving on to old business 11A, Mr. Darga.
Very good. Thank you. Extended COVID-19 Learning Plan, confirmed instructional delivery plan for the next 30 days. Since the extended COVID-19 Learning Plan was approved, the board must meet to reconfirm delivery of instruction, solicit public comment and how instruction is going to be delivered, and publicly announce weekly 2-way interaction rates attendance every 30 days. The suggested motion that the Allen Park Board of Education confirm the mode of instruction as in-person instruction for students in K-12 4 full days per week with remote instruction on Wednesdays. Additionally, that the district, in collaboration with the Wayne County Health Department, will closely monitor for evidence of in-school transmissions resulting from in-person learning despite mitigation measures, and will reevaluate the mode of instruction plan on a classroom or building level as necessary. The Board of Education will reconfirm how instruction will be delivered every 30 days. Thank you, Ms. Miller.
Anyone want to move on that?
Oh, sorry. Motion.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Well, let's go around. Let's start with Mr. Klein.
No, not much. It's nice to see numbers coming down, and it feels like we maybe can finish the school year moving forward. I know that at the last board meeting we had, those kids that are doing the kind of the remote option, kind of coming into the classroom somewhat remote, there's an opportunity to come back in person when it dropped. Oddly enough, I checked just before the board meeting, it dropped to 7.4 today on COVID Act Now.
Yeah.
Does that give them a one-time chance now to come back if they'd like? I assume, is that still in our plan?
Yeah, where are we going? Can you guys hear me now? Or am I still muffled? Okay. Where we go, I wasn't sure. I want a clarification on that because I saw the same thing, Mike. We were sticking to what our old one was, right? Under 7.5 for 1 week.
Correct.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So yeah, but yes, parents are aware. I've had a few calls. Now you can't see my head. I'm a mess today. Everything's totally fine over here. We're awesome. It's awesome at the Chfelsky house. I've already had some parents contact me and reach out because they were, concerned about wanting to go back and forth one way or the other. And when we just said, like, we're kind of holding firm, we want to get proof of concept. I think that was the term Mr. Martin used to make sure, like, we had an idea of what was happening. And so we're going to wait and hold firm on that 7.5 number.
Okay. So that would be, is there a way to be proactive on that so that because that could then be as early as like Monday, right?
Yeah.
Is there a way to maybe, if it continues to drop by Wednesday, to say, hey, look, as long as it continues on this trend, let us know by Friday and we can bring people back. It would be nice to kind of.
Yeah. So Mike and I will look at, we get I compute the raw data as well. It's one of the tabs underneath at the bottom. And so that's always a couple days ahead of time because, like, today COVID Act Now probably came up to the 14th, but we have data through the 16th. And so usually, a couple of days ahead of time, we can say, hey, we know it's going in this direction because of the historical data. So they'll send something out.
Yeah, I've been tracking that. It's been looking good. We're down in the 5s now on the day. So, and that's awesome. And the case rates are coming down. So everything is really, it feels like a much better year or finish to the year. Okay. I think that's it for me. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you for that. And we'll go with Mrs. McDonald.
Okay, so I'm confused. Currently, we're offering a remote option as well, correct?
Correct.
Will that remain?
Yeah.
Yes, it will. Okay, that in your motion, but it does remain?
Right. Yeah, just like it did last month. It still remains. Those people that are remote for the remainder of the year.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Warren.
Thank you. That was my question as well. Mr. Klein, I looked at it about 4 seconds before I jumped online as well. So, but yeah, I got a couple emails about that asking like, can I come back yet? So same type of question. So it's that's a good thing, right? I mean, we've been struggling with this for so long. So it's so good to see those numbers coming down. So obviously I'm in support of keeping those kids in and getting kids back that feel it's time for them to be able to come back as well. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Martin?
No, just agreeing. Glad to see the numbers coming down and moving in a positive way to end out these last 19 days, and hopefully we can continue it into next year and move forward on a positive note. So no comment other than that.
Okay, Mrs. Lukey.
Nothing, thank you.
And Mrs. Flipiak.
I have nothing either.
Okay.
Gordon, can I?
Yes, Mr. Klein.
Just real quick, I just want to make sure the interaction between Mike and Jeanette, I think 100% understood what it was, but it got a little messy in there. So am I correct that a parent right now that's remote can stay remote through the end of the year if they want to, but if we hit, again, theoretically, hypothetically, this coming Monday would be the day. If we get to that 7 days in a row, then you'd have a one chance opportunity to come back in person if they choose. If not, then you stay remote for the rest of the year. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay, awesome. I just thank you to I know it's hard on the teachers to have both. I know that it's stressing. It adds stress to their day. So the more kids we can get back in person when it's safe is obviously helpful. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyone else raise a hand? Otherwise, we'll call the vote on it. Okay, seeing no one, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carries, and we will move forward to what's next on the agenda here, Mr. Darga. New business. We're going to skip B1. We'll move right on to B2.
Correct. And I do want to do a quick update regarding the quarantine, only because I did receive a lot of questions regarding quarantine, and just wanted to make sure everyone's on the same page. There is no action required from the board at this time. I'm just going to present my screen real quick. And I think there's some confusion because, again, we often get paired to the CDC, and what's the difference between the CDC and the Wayne County Health Department. So the CDC will often come out and share information. I've pulled up here their COVID-19 when to quarantine page, if you can see that. The very first line is really the line that I wanted to focus on today, and that's that the local public health authorities determine and establish the quarantine options for their jurisdictions. So what the CDC is saying there is, hey, listen, as a group, we are stating that these different categories, can be talked about. However, they're seeing that for the entire nation. What they're saying then is that your local health departments will better determine the need for your local area. When I scroll down here, again, it then states the same thing right here. Your local public health authorities make the final decisions about how long quarantine should last based on local conditions and needs. Again, follow the recommendations, from the health department. So we've been getting some concerns because, again, we've got students, unfortunately, that get caught up in the quarantine situation and mess. And so they're asking, hey, listen, it says, that we follow, Wayne County Health Department is currently following the 10-day rule. The CDC is then recommending 7 days. So they're saying, why are we not following the 7 days? So then I point them to that kind of information. We did have a couple, we had unfortunately some students very recently get caught up in quarantine. Today we spent the entire day, Mr. Dawson, and I appreciate him contacting me first thing to let me know, hey, we have an issue. We had several students that were caught up in the quarantine. This could affect regional competition, possible scholarship competitions, prom attendance, and so on. What we did is we've been calling since this morning, making our contacts with the Wayne County Health Department. I am very happy to report that one of the representatives from the Wayne County Health Department was able to work with us, work out a scenario that still allowed us to stay within the 10 days-ish, I'll say. And they let us know, hey, if we did this within the 10 days and we offered some testing on Friday, which is the day number 10, and our students were to come out and have a negative test result, we could then go ahead and allow them to participate. You guys know me, you know my leadership. I'm always looking for a win-win scenario. These situations were presented to me by our athletic director, followed up with student emails as well as parent emails. We went to bat right away. We started contacting Wayne County Health Department. I reached out to Wayne Risa. Our school nurse was involved. Later in the day, much later in the day, after 4 p.m., almost 4:30 p.m., we then started to receive some feedback. So again, a win-win scenario was created. I do appreciate Wayne County Health Department working with us on that. We are staying within our 10-day guidance. Ultimately, though, we were able to offer testing and get these students to be able to move forward and participate. Again, a win for those students, a win for families, but most importantly, a win for our district to be able to create this scenario. So I just want to say thank you for all those involved in that hard work, and a lot of behind the scenes actions took place to make that happen. I just ask our parents to always trust the system, trust that we will always work in the best interest of our students. It just takes a little time sometimes. So I'm sorry, Mr. Miller, thank you for that opportunity to explain that. And I'm ready to move on to number 2.
Yeah, we'll move on. Turn it over to you for 11B2.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Wayne County RESA General Fund Operating Budget 2021-2022. Wayne RESA is in a position, just like Allen Park Public Schools and other districts, in which we are unsure where next year's budget will land. However, the state has not changed the requirements that Wayne RESA must have for their proposed budget to the boards for review by May 1, and the board vote on the Wayne RESA budget by May 31st. The Wayne RESA budget has built a basic rollover from the last year with the following exceptions to reduce their structural operation deficit. Number 1, professional development expenses for RESA staff and capital project costs for the RESA facilities are reduced. Number 2, the fee sharing of the Illuminati DNA project will reduce the agency's operating deficit by $1 million. And number 3, RESA is also looking at increasing reimbursement for special education costs in Act 18 budget that may more than offset any fees increased they may look to implement. The budget also includes the same level of staffing and revenues for now. As soon as Wayne RESA has clear picture from the state of revenues, they will immediately amend the budget to reflect any changes. Of note, several important areas of the Wayne RESA budget are based on property taxes, which is Act 18 budget, Enhancement Millage budget, General Fund budget, and the property tax value not yet published for this year. The suggested motion that the Wayne RESA General Fund operating budget for the 2021-2022 school year be supported, and that the attached resolution be approved as presented.
Motion.
Support.
Moved and supported. We'll open it up. Get my attention if you have any questions on this one.
It is a pretty standard process for us.
It does not look like there are any, so it's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries, and I think for the first time in about 15 years, I voted in favor of that budget. That's due to some of their changes, so I was happy to vote yes this year. We'll move on to item 3, Mr. Dargan.
Very good. Wayne County RESA Board election. An election will be held on Wayne RESA for one open seat, a 6-year term on the Wayne RESA Board of Education on June 7, 2021 at 6 p.m. In accordance with the revised school code, members of the RESA board are elected by an electoral body composed of one person designated by the board of each constituent district. The district representative will vote on behalf of the local school board for a specific candidate of the local board supports. The election division of the Wayne County Clerk's Office has confirmed that there are candidates certified as official. Board members have received their brief bios in advance for review. The suggested motion that the board approve the designation of Laura Lukey as the representative of this board for the electoral body and we will have to name an alternate, as the alternate in the event the designated representative is unable to attend, which body will elect one candidate to the vacancy of the Wayne Risa board on June 7th, 2021. And further, that the designated representative is directed to cast a vote on the first ballot on behalf of the Board of Education candidate James Petrie, and that the attached resolution be approved as presented.
Motion.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. I guess, first of all, do we have a volunteer to be the name of the alternate? And thank you, Mrs. Lukey, for volunteering to be the representative of the board. Do we have an alternate that would like to volunteer here this evening as the backup?
We have a board meeting that night, so that's going to be a difficult one.
It's an electronic vote, I believe, too. So,
oh, God.
Yeah.
Yes, I can do it if Ms. Lukey cannot.
Okay, it looks to me like Mr. Klein has indicated he'd be willing to be the backup on that.
It doesn't matter. I don't. Yeah, whatever is best. I think Jen was interested too, and I.
Do we flip it? Dr. Jen, is that something you're wanting to do then?
Nope, Mr. Klein can take it.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna flip the coin. All right. Hey, it was Mr.
Made
Klein.
my week.
All right. So the motion that is on the table would obviously have the name of Mr. Klein inserted as the alternate. Other than that, are there any other questions or discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to number 4, Mr. Dargan.
Purchase of Clever Touch Impact Plus displays for the elementary buildings. Dr. Tefelsky has been working with the elementary principals and teachers to determine interest and additional Clever Touch displays for elementary classrooms. Although a final count has not been determined, we wish to move forward in order to be placed on the summer schedule for installation. At this time, quotes from Tierney, which is a REMC approved vendor for this item, are based on teachers who have expressed interest. 15 Clever Touch Impact Plus models for each elementary building, for a total of 45 displays with extended cable runs, flanking whiteboards, and installation. The total cost for each building at this time is $107,378.95, which would be funded through the Wayne County and Hassett Millage funds. This will free up bond funds for other needs and allow us to move forward with this project this summer. If demand exceeds the quote of 15 per building, additional devices will be ordered at the cost of $6,900 per classroom per device. Initial training will be provided by the 12 elementary teachers who have been piloting the Clever Touch product. They are our Clever champions. If demand exceeds the quote, additional devices will be ordered. Dr. Tefelsky is with us this evening if you have specific questions regarding the Clever Touch product and its use in the classroom. The suggested motion that the Allen Park Board of Education approve the purchase of 86-inch Clever Touch Impact Plus displays with extended cable runs, flanking whiteboards, and installation for Arno, Benny, and Lindeman Elementary Schools from Tierney as presented.
Motion.
Support.
Okay. Been moved and supported. Dr. Tefelsky, anything you'd like to add about the Clever Touch displays and their impact potentially on the classrooms, and whether you think we'll exceed that demand, so in fact we're actually placing more than what we anticipate?
Yeah, everybody who has them really enjoys them. There was a little hiccup right at the very beginning for about a week or two, but we got that resolved. And the teachers are really enjoying them. The kids are really enjoying them. The quote, if I had to guess, I would say we probably will exceed that by a little bit, but we already have 12 in. There's only, Mr. Dargis, 64 teachers total at the elementary level, 72 at the elementary level. So we're kind of getting close to that cap anyway. We can kind of see what, even if every elementary teacher went to the training. And I think that it's been great for the interactivity for the students. I've been in teachers' classrooms where they're having kids post what's on their Chromebook up onto the board so that everybody can see it. Teachers can annotate over it, give them feedback right away. It's a pretty great tool. We are not ignoring 612. We're not forgetting about 612. We're looking at other options for 612, though. That was one of the things that we've discussed at tech committee meetings. Do we want to focus as much on student interactivity at the 612 level as we do at the K5 level? So those conversations are ongoing, but we want more interactivity. We know at 612, we just want to make sure that they have the right tools for their age, instead of just saying like
one size fits all and we're just throwing this at everybody's classroom. We want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for each grade level.
And I don't know if it's maybe somewhere between express and implied, but teachers get the training and they get a board in their classroom at the K through 5 level. Is that my understanding?
Yes, and that is express. That is as soon as they sign up and complete the training, the board goes up, and as long as everything goes on schedule, they should be up by mid to late August. We're going to do the demo, the repainting, and everything that comes with putting the boards up early in the summer, and we are getting the first Clever Touch Impact Plus Gen 2 in North America, according to our Tierney rep, and those will be here in early August. So we're excited about that.
So theoretically, if every elementary teacher were to take the training, then we would go past that by that little bit to reach capacity and get them into all classrooms. Then.
And get them into all classrooms, yep. And nothing would please me more, and I'm sure the board probably feels the same way.
Yeah.
Do they have the supply for that? Should we need the extra boards?
Yep. Chris said that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, great. That's enough for me. We'll move on to it's hundreds of thousands. Let's talk it through. Mrs. McDonald.
John, who's providing the training?
So Tierney provided the first round of training to our 12 teachers, and they got I think they've had 18 hours of training so far, or maybe it's 12 hours of training so far, and they get either 18 or 24. And then we've been working with them to provide training to our teachers. So there's 12 of them kind of strategically spaced out in different buildings. You have, kindergarten, there's Aubrey Peschke, 4th grade, Mo Klein, 5th grade, Serrano. Then we have our tech teachers. We have our library teachers. So we have a smattering of teachers at all grade levels to provide training for people. And they signed up to provide training. So they kind of dictated their level of comfort. Like, I am comfortable enough with the board that I'm going to provide training and take care of the teachers that would like to come on board. We also have Katie Jensen, who's been an integral part of the training, and she's kind of representing, the special education department, and she's seen some successes in her class, I believe.
And when does that training take place? During PD or on their own time?
Nope, for this first round, it's on their own time. So there's a training actually happening. It just ended right now, after school from 4 to 8. So they have to commit to 4 hours of training. Initially, we had 8 hours of training scheduled before our board went in, but after working with the teachers that were trained and then the Clever champions, they decided it was better to get 4 hours, put the board in, let them practice with it, and then come back and circle back with another 4 hours of training. So the first round, the first 8 hours is not a stipend. The payment, so to speak, is the board in the classroom as an early adopter.
And then you've been in the classrooms and watching them in use. Do you think that they're getting, if not the most use out of them, at least working towards their capabilities?
Yeah, a ton of use. There's 2 more advanced programs. It's called the Snowflake and the Lynx program that they're just kind of scratching the surface on, but like so many other things that they're doing. They're doing Clever Share, like I said, where kids can broadcast stuff up. They're doing whiteboarding. These particular devices have 20 points of touch, so you can have kids working at the same time on different parts of the board, and it responds differently. They're really amazing. I was in, Chelsea Darren's class. I saw her working with the board again, Katie Jensen, and her students were working with the board. When I go into specialist teachers, they are maximizing the use of the board in every classroom. There's definitely no dust getting on any of these boards.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Dr. Warren.
When I was able to go into the schools, right, like pre-COVID, when we could do that and like check everybody out, which was so fun. I did enter the tech room at Benny and at Lindemann, and both of them were using the board without even knowing I was coming in, right? So that was really neat. And the tech teacher at Lindemann, she was using, like, it was mirroring, she had the kids write a poem, like roses are red type thing. And she was mirroring the kids' stuff, and she had like multiple ones up. And then she'd have another student come up and like circle it and be like, okay, edit it for your student, like show them what they could do to get better. So, and that was just me just randomly walking in that day. So I thought that was amazing that the 2 tech teachers there at Lindemann and Benny that I got to see in action were doing an awesome job. So that was really cool to see. I get to use it when I teach college. So I see the absolute beauty of it. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to use it in a year, but I'm excited to get back to it. So I definitely do love those clever touch boards. I'm glad that Gordon asked that question. Do we have the funding? Do we have the product if we need it? Does that include, just out of curiosity, I don't know if they're too young learners, but young 5?
Yeah. Anytime I say K5, and I have a hard time doing this because I've been saying K5 for now 20 years of my career. I'm sure it's hard for some of the more seasoned vets. K includes young 5s. The state doesn't differentiate between that. We don't. We get funding for them. Our teachers are highly qualified in kindergarten. All of those great things. So yeah, if young 5 teachers want to sign up, they can sign up and get it as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin.
No real comments. It sounds like a great tool, and I love their interaction. And I'd be interesting to see what goes in the 6 through 12. I'm just wondering if Tierney offers any support, software support, or anything like that that may be needed down the road.
Ton. They've been awesome. They've been super responsive. When we got this first round, again, this was the impact model that we got. We were one of the first around to get it. We had them on site 2 or 3 different times. They resolved it and got us up and running. I had an issue with we order a bunch of stuff from them because they're a REMC company, and they will send us stuff sight unseen. They'll return it sight unseen. They will bend over backwards to service all of their clients. Taylor uses them. We have a bunch of districts in the area that also use them, and everybody says the same thing about them. Chris and his team at Tierney do above and beyond what is necessary to make all of us happy. So we're lucky to be working with them. Yeah.
So do they have I guess a help desk where a teacher, if she got in trouble during the day, it could call immediately or online?
Yeah,
or something like
and they have 2 people trained specifically. So we have Nikki that works with us, but then they have another trainer that actually travels around, and she was the one that came with us. And she's got a little bit of the tech support side and a little bit of the instructional side. She's a former teacher that they hired, and they can call them just about any time and get a response. The tech support for Clever, it's a UK-based company, so it is out of the UK, but we've had good success with them as well. They're a smaller company, so that's nice. You can call them and you can kind of get a hold of people.
Yeah, more of a personal relationship. That's good. Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay, Mrs. Lukey.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Mrs. Flipiak.
I was just able to purchase some of these for my staff too, so I stand behind them 110%.
You guys got Clevers too, Sarah?
We didn't get Clever. We got a similar product, but I was we can talk about it another time, but my teachers love them. They were not like the old whiteboards that we used to have that nobody used, like the smart boards. So I stand behind it completely, and teachers do magic on those things. So it's awesome.
We looked at 3 different ones, and you're right, Sarah. It doesn't matter which one you go with, really. We went with Clever because it met our needs and we liked it. But all of the vendors out there now, it's amazing what teachers can do and what the technology has brought to the educational field.
Okay, and Mr. Klein.
No, I've got all my questions answered. Thanks.
Okay, having gone around, anyone want to get my attention because something came up, or are we good to call the vote on this one? Looks like we are good to call it. So, been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. Moving forward to item B5. Mr. Darga.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Purchase of CNC machines for the Ellenburg High School Trades Program. Mr. Jeff Gulasarian, Ellenburg High School Trades Program teacher, has been researching a CNC machine proposal for the past few years and has submitted a request to Dr. Tafelsky, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. The CNC machine is a computer numerical control machine that will provide trade students with industry experience using the same machines that are used in the workforce. The CNC machine are widely used to fabricate parts, components, manufacturing process repeatedly. Students can create a bookshelf or architectural furniture as an example, save the specs, and years later reproduce the exact same shelf with the same dimensions. The machine would really pair for the CAD program as a design program, and then allow trade woodshop students to take that design and bring it to life by manufacturing and assembling it. This sector will grow to allow the CT program to design and sell hard-to-find components as previously did in the early 2000s. We have received 3 quotes from Onstrud, Stiles Machinery, and JLK Industries. The company, Stiles Machinery, is an international company that has opened a Michigan-based branch of Grand Rapids. Mr. Gulasarian has reached out to the industry supervisors who have plainly said that if the students are trained on this machine, they will essentially hire them. The recommended vendor for the Stiles Machinery is not the cheapest nor the most expensive, as we feel the existing relationship made in Michigan component and the fact that the Stiles machine is much more well-known and a more frequently used machine in production settings sets them apart from the other 2 vendors. The Michigan-made factor also means less downtime in the event of a breakdown or wear and tear of the machines. Onstrud is made in the USA, but not in Michigan. JLK is an Italian-based company, so both would be harder to expedite parts. In our opinion, this is not something we should look to save money on, thereby sacrificing true industry knowledge for students. Stiles Machinery has also committed to training future educators on this machine. Quotes are included in the board packet materials, and suggested funding sources is the Wayne County and Hassett millage. The suggested motion that the Allen Park Board of Education approve the purchase for the CNC machine from Stiles Machinery in the amount of $96,240 to be paid from the Wayne County and Hassett Millage Fund as presented.
So moved.
I'll support.
Support you.
Okay, been moved and supported. We'll go around. We'll start with Mr. Klein.
Yeah, we actually, a buddy of mine that I work with at up in Macomb, I was able to find some ways to put these into every high school in every district in Macomb County. So it's nice to see that we're following in. Big fan, gives kids some real world high-tech manufacturing experience. I think that's powerful. I assume it'll be, it doesn't say in here, but I assume that the robotics teams can use it as well to manufacture parts for that kind of thing as well. Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Okay, Mrs. McDonald.
I did hear Mr. Darga say that teacher training was available for current as well as future teachers. Is that very involved? Do you know?
Jeff did not indicate that it was overly complicated or anything, really more than intuitive. I think it's just kind of somebody coming in, showing him how to set it up and do it. But the reason he likes Stiles is because he feels it's pretty much plug and play where, kids are going to be able to get in and they're going to be able to use it without having to overcome a barrier of, weird software or too much technology. So they can kind of come in, Corey's kids can design it, Jeff's kids can run it. So.
I know when we took to Baker College, back when I was working, that was a brand new department there that they were really pleased with, and it was very interactive. It looked quite complex, I will say that, but then again, that wasn't my line of work. Thank you.
Okay, and Mrs. Flipiak.
I think this is great. Anything we can do like that is awesome. I love the decision making on it, making sure you can get the parts and that it's a Michigan-based company. So I think it's a great idea. Awesome.
All right, Mrs. Lukey.
Sounds great. Thank you. Nothing.
All right, Mr. Martin.
I actually called Jeff mainly just to give him the business and why he didn't choose the cheapest one as a joke. But he had some great insights on the machinery and the program. And I really wish we could do more in terms of the vocations. And, I shared with Jeff, we both had the same idea. If we could go back and do it, I'd go back and be an electrician because it's like finding gold, trying to get an electrician. So I really wish we could do more in terms of the apprenticeship program. So, or if we could even do something like that, apprenticeship programs. But yeah, all for it. And wishing Jeff the best here with this.
Okay, Dr. Warren.
Yeah, I absolutely love that we're supporting the trades without a doubt. I think that is absolutely amazing. And I'm so proud to be able to be a part of that as well. I absolutely, like Sarah, love the fact that you guys put that research in and you're like, I know it's not the cheapest. However, these are the reasons I feel like we should go with it. So I really appreciate all of you guys that worked on that. to look at it. I can't lie, when this first came through my computer, I had to Google it because I was like, is this the tech department? Like, what is this thing? And like Jeanette said, right, not my expertise. We do have a place to house this machinery, correct?
Oh, yeah.
That's big.
Jeff's gonna have to make some room. Jeff, you can add Jeff to the list of teachers, and I've never met one who is not a hoarder. Jeff is a hoarder, and so he's gonna have to clear some machinery out. But he knows that, and he's happy to. I'm a little nervous. The next meeting, there's gonna be an additional wing built by Mr. Gulisarian as a line item, but he said no. He said he's.
If I win the lotto, Mr. Gulisarian, that wing is yours. So I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. And like I said, I'm just proud to be a part when we're looking at those trades. So, one quick question. The students that are at the community school, do they ever get the option to come over and try to use a machine like this?
Jeff and Tom both have, Tom Jenkins, Mr. Jenkins, both have students that come over from the community school. Their classes are a little bit more conducive because they can run in they can take like Woods 1 and Autos 1 or things like that. But yeah, and Jeanette would know better than any of us, but there are other classes that kids come over and take.
Awesome. I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone want to get my attention because something else came up? Sounded like it was overwhelmingly supported. Okay, we'll go ahead and call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Mr. Gardner, we'll move on to 11B6.
Very good. And I wanted to personally thank the board for that. As a previous vocational teacher myself, and I agree with Mr. Martin, the vocational, we were talking with Jeff, and Jeff actually shared that he had just sold one of his wood lathes that was from 1952, and he has not had a new piece of machinery in his shop since the late 80s or early 90s. So this is a real powerful purchase and a very good purchase on behalf of the students of Allen Park Public Schools. So thank you for that. Moving on, consideration for diversity, equity, inclusion coordinator position. And I'm going to go ahead and I've created a real quick PowerPoint presentation. And I'll share that with you. Let me know if you guys can see our screen. All right, very good. I'm sorry, this is kind of weird. I'm not used to not seeing my own screen. All right, so the very first slide here, culture and equity position. The history of the culture and equity work, again, I know people are kind of hearing this out there in the schools, but we've actually been working on this for a while. Equity has been under the PBIS umbrella in Allen Park since its inception of PBIS at Wayne County RESA and Allen Park Public Schools. In fact, the program began by looking at the representation in suspensions and expulsions and has grown from there. In the 2017-2018 school year, through conversations between myself, the ACLU, and the NAACP, the district began to focus more on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is DEI, outside of the lens of PBIS. The district informed a partnership with Wayne State University and Dr. Eric Montgomery. In fact, they kicked off the 2018-2019 school year teacher professional development, followed by Kevin Honeycutt, who focused on social and emotional well-being and inclusive practices. That year, we also began working with Ms. Jenny Winters, who facilitated coffee conversations at each building. Ms. Jenny Winters is a Wayne RESA consultant and a professional on equity. And we reached out to her, and she actually worked with us for over 2 years on coffee conversations in each of our buildings, hosted in the evening for our parents and our students, as well as staff members. In 2019, there was a kickoff conversation with the PRISM Club, which led to additional information and context being provided by the health units on suicide and depression as it relates to LGBTQ youth. We also began working with Dr. Ramon Griffin at the high school level as a resource to ensure our practices were inclusive and culturally responsive. In 2020-2021, the board heard a presentation from the new committee group and passed a resolution making a commitment to fostering a society rooted in equity and awareness through the education of the RAE, which is Race Awareness and Equity Committee, was formed, whose work focused on equity and awareness. After the great feedback from the staff, Dr. Griffin was the kickoff presenter at our opening professional development for the entire staff, including support staff. Dr. Griffin has continued his work with the K-12 staff facilitating professional development days during the school year. MySIP, the new school improvement process, has a whole child approach in which schools focus on socially emotional well-being and equity. Here's one or two of our goals for the 2021 school year. Allen Park Public Schools will utilize a framework of culturally responsive pedagogy at all levels and in every subject area to ensure students are comfortable in their learning environment. Equity has been under the PBIS umbrella in Allen Park since inception of PBIS at Wayne County.
Sorry,
I went to the wrong one. Needs, the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion work is focused on all of our educators. Equity work focuses on all of our students. We have students who have special needs and are from traditional underserved populations, have different racial or ethnic backgrounds, identify as LGBTQ, or simply feel like they do not have a place in our schools. A dedicated position would give a voice to students who need assistance and be a resource to staff members. The qualifications of this position, Allen Park Public Schools would be looking for an individual who has expertise in this area with credentials, certifications, or comprehensive coursework in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Districts such as Royal Oak, Birmingham, Rochester, Holland, Farmington, Troy, and others have posted very similar positions this year, in fact. And Royal Oak had over 100 applicants to their current position. Funding. This position would be funded out of the 31A at-risk funding, not the general fund, for the upcoming school year. Last year, Wayne Reesa supplanted funding for one reading coach for a 2-year period. This will free up money in the upcoming years to focus on equity for our at-risk students and all of our students. Why now? We want to make sure that we are serving all of our students. See below for the graph of students and their association demographic background. And that's maybe hard to see. But again, it kind of gives our demographics, our population going through. And what is the work that needs to be done? There's a sample posting on the board that is received, but here are a few of the points of the job description. Conduct equity audits to evaluate and refine EDI initiatives, document critical areas of growth and disseminate quarterly reports on progress towards their goals, provide restorative practices, trauma-informed, EDI, and implicit bias, professional development and training for all teachers, staff, students, and families in the Allen Park School District. Design, organize, and implement innovative professional learning opportunities for the district, campus, program staff of the community with an emphasis on racial and equity awareness. Support the district's employee recruitment plan to attract a more racially and ethnically diverse workforce and talent pool. Assist the HR department and central office team with ensuring the district's hiring practices are free of implicit bias in attracting, screening, and interviewing processes. Develop and implement systems and procedures to address the unique needs of ethnically, culturally, and linguistically diverse students, parents, and families in Allen Park. Work with all ELL students and teachers as necessary. And at the end of that presentation, I'd like to go ahead and open it up for any questions you may have. Dr. Tefelsky is here with me, and we do have a suggested motion that the Allen Park Board of Education approve the proposal to interview and employ a diversity, equity, and inclusion coordinator through a third-party contractor for the 21-2022 school year.
Motion.
Support.
Okay, been moved and supported. We'll take this one around for questions. Let's start with Mrs. McDonald.
So Mike, you said the funding comes through 31A. Is that as a grant?
Yeah, 31A is it's an annual grant. We don't know what we're going to get every single year. It's been fairly consistent the last few years, though. It's based on our at-risk population. So as the number goes up, the grant gets larger. But yeah, it is a grant-funded program.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Warren.
I think we have our little mini meeting, right? And I think I addressed my concerns at that mini meeting. But I was definitely very happy with the emails and the communications that I got from some instructors, educators, teachers that I absolutely respect and absolutely trust their judgment call, because they're with the students every day, not me. And so it was very good to see what they had to say and why they feel we need such a position within Allen Park Public Schools. And what I liked even more about their conversation that I had with multiple of them is they didn't just tell me like, we need this, right? They also told me why we need it. And they then even put in what they would be doing, like here's ideas of what this person can do all day. So I really, really appreciate that so much. And I thank them. I know they know who they are because, they've emailed me and reached out to me. And then I know Mr. Darga, you reported back to us even what Mrs. Parafelice was saying. So, she even came big into my decision factor as well. So I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for those of you, especially at that high school level, coming out and letting me know why this was so important. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Martin.
So question I had, Jeanette asked it already, so thank you, Jeanette. Similar to Dr. Warren, I also received some feedback from multiple teachers and the meetings we had that, and just through conversations with other board members that this is a progressive move. I think as we become more of a global society, and that's not going away, this will only help our students. One concern I had was, as I read through it, and it maybe just be might just be my misunderstanding, is when they say adjusting the curriculum or working with the curriculum. Because my understanding is the curriculum is state driven. So the leeway, how much leeway do we have on working with the curriculum? Maybe John, you can answer.
I'll let Dr. Tawalski talk a little about the curriculum piece.
So we have a lot of leeway when it comes to materials that we select. One example would be in ELA when you're teaching a unit. Kind of a traditional way to teach it would be everybody's going to read Of Mice and Men. A new way that would be more culturally responsive might be to have a book club where you base it on a theme of like friendship, and then you give kids books to choose from where you can introduce authors, introduce female authors, LGBTQ authors, authors of color, and then they read a book on friendship through their lens. The teacher is still teaching what they would normally teach about Of Mice and Men, but the child is able to see kind of themselves in the book and in the text. So that would just be an example of how you would do it. We wouldn't be, like fundamentally changing what has happened, but you would be achieving those objectives and those curriculum standards through different materials. So that's kind of the.
Sorry, but that was my main concern. People come to Allen Park. Allen Park, we want to be challenged here, right? Yeah. We want the best and brightest. And my concern was if we adjust the curriculum too much, you might have that opposite effect where you have people leaving, potentially. So that's good to hear. One thing I saw too that I just wanted to make a comment where it said Allen Park was reactive in some of these things. I know there's been some incidents. I wouldn't say we've had a lot of incidents, and I don't know exactly. There's 3,800 students, right? 3,800 different personalities. As you get up to the 6th grade level, you start dealing with different circumstances as the kids get older. So I think we have a great administration staff and teaching staff that deals with things as they come along. And I think they're actually a little bit proactive in this and too, with strong classroom settings. That's one of the things that Jeff Goulasiri and I actually spoke with, being a strong teacher, strong presence in the classroom. So, I applaud the teachers for that, and I applaud, they're willing to adjust as well. So that's all I had.
And thanks for that question on curriculum, Mr. Martin. That was a good question, and the answer is exactly the type of thing that can fit within what we're trying to do in a broader context here. So that back and forth was really informative. Thank you both. Mrs. Lukey.
I don't have any questions or concerns. I'm just excited it's on the agenda, and I appreciate Mr. Darga for pursuing this. I know it's something I came across an email that's several years old, an exchange that he and I had where we each agreed, how, there are several student population groups that could all benefit under the umbrella of equity and he got the ball rolling. He's kept the ball rolling with, Miss Winters and Dr. Griffin and the things mentioned in the presentation. And then unfortunately the pandemic hit, but I'm just so inspired to know he didn't take his eye off the ball. Not only did he not put it to the side, he educated himself on it, taking the course at Eastern Michigan University, the Leadership and Equity, I believe that it was, the certification program. So just kudos, Mr. Darga. Thank you for the support and dedication to our district. Can't thank you enough. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Flippia.
I would just like to echo what Laura said. Mike, I truly appreciate the work that you've done on this. Again, I didn't realize till the other day that you'd actually gone out and gotten that certification as well. And to me, that was very impressive. John, I thought your explanation of sort of making some shifts in curriculum was excellent. I love the book club idea. That's just an awesome way to instruct kids and to give them opportunities to have some choice in what they read. Although I do love Mice and Men. So I too am really, really, really excited about this, and I'm really looking forward to the work. And I love that the staff has, a lot of the staff have embraced it, particularly the pieces with PBIS, restorative practices, trauma-informed work. I mean, John, you listed you said that kids have to have these indicators, and you gave this whole list of things. And you said we have a huge population in our district that for those 31A funds, and to be designated for that. And when you say that to me, those are the kids who are going to be impacted by this work the most. And I just think it's really awesome, and it's progressive, and it's wonderful. So I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
Thanks, Sarah. I think people get caught up and they hear kind of the equity position, and they just think of one slice of the pie, and they're like, well, I don't happen to fit into that, so how does that help me? But I think everybody has talked about what a great culture Mike has created from the top down, and this all goes into that culture, giving everybody a place to fit in, and not everybody that's in one pot fits into another pot. And so then you're starting to grow this Venn diagram of there are all of these kids who are in an underserved or underrepresented population, or at risk or vulnerable. And how do we make sure that we're addressing all of those students? And how do we make sure that they're not kind of pushed to the side, because it's harder to deal with sometimes. It's harder to have those difficult conversations. So this brings it back to the forefront. And again, it goes back to kind of the culture that Mike's created around APPS.
Okay, and Mr. Klein.
Just super excited about the position, Mike. Thrilled to see it's coming in. I will say I love the name. I know is very intentional, and I love that word inclusion at the end. I spent 8 hours this weekend with the code.org team trying to figure out how do we move school districts from access to inclusion. The idea that kids have access to a code.org program. Every kid in the school has access, but many of the kids don't feel included when they come, or they don't feel included in a way that they actually take the course. And so this idea of a mindset towards making sure that every single student in our school district feels welcome and feels like they are included in that student body fully for who they are. So I think very excited. Thanks for making it happen.
Okay, anyone else want to get my attention? Okay, I guess what I would say is this: I want to thank Mr. Darga for his part in driving this. Individual board members that we've discussed this with over the last couple of years, appreciate your driving this as well. Have to thank the RAY task force for continuing the process. This has been, this really is one of my favorite board meetings of all time. We're talking about a bond that's going to match what we do within the schools without or outside of them, and put us at the cutting edge in the region in terms of inclusion. And couldn't think of much more that we're set here to do than to accomplish those things. And so for that, I'm very proud and thankful and very happy. So I want to thank everybody involved. And unless there's anybody else, we're going to go ahead and call the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Happy to say the motion carries 7-0. Moving forward, Mr. Darga. Unless there's something else to say, we'll move forward to 11B7.
Yeah, moving on. First off, on behalf of the entire school community in Allen Park, the city, thank you for that vote. This is something we've been working on for almost 4 years. And again, I appreciate all the confidence from the board. And that means a ton to me as we move forward. And again, thank you for that. And I agree, Mr. Miller, this has been an outstanding board. So that's a board meeting. Let's keep that going. Number 7A, Neola board policy, second reading, adoption, section 5,000 students. At the April 12th board meeting, Neola board policy, section 5,000 students was presented for the first reading. Board members carefully reviewed the policy and any questions submitted were answered. At this time, we are recommending that the section of our Neola board policy manual be adopted at the entirety. The suggested motion that the Allen Park Board of Education adopt Neola policy section 5,000 students as presented.
Motion.
God, exciting.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Not sure. Am I doing something here? Okay. Not sure we need to go around. Anybody have any comments or questions? Okay. Then we'll call it. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carries. Moving forward, Mr. Darga.
Neola board policy is first reading, section 6,000, finance, section 7,000. We have presented updated Neola policy, section 6,000, finance, and section 7,000, property to members of the Board of Education for review. At this time, we can open the floor for any questions board members may have. The board will consider adopting these policies at the June meeting.
Okay, any questions or comments from any board members regarding section 6,000 finance and section 7,000 property? This is probably the appropriate time to thank Mr. Dowski for all of her tireless work on behalf of these policy. Thank you again for that and continuing. Not just all of your work, but this specifically. Thank you very much. And I believe that takes us to 12, Superintendent's Reports. Mr. Darga.
Very good. Thank you so much. Recognition of Kendra Payette-Lynn, District's NCI instructor. After 12 years of service to the district as the NCI Nonviolent Crisis Intervention Instructor, Kendra Payette-Lynn is stepping down from her position as a district trainer. Kendra has spent countless hours since 2009 ensuring the district staff has been trained in the research-based practices of nonviolent crisis intervention through the Crisis Prevention Institute. Kendra's dedication to the role and her enthusiasm while instructing on the challenging content is commendable. Kudos to Chelsea Bianchi, Classroom Environment Project MARSP grant. This grant will fund 4 balanced ball student chairs and blue calming light covers to make Ms. Bianchi's kindergarten classroom more calm and relaxed. The grant also covers at the end of the year carnival celebration with outdoor games and prizes so that our kindergartners can end the year on a high note. AP Pfizer Vaccination Clinic, Mary Beth Lyons, Megan Rourke. Special thanks to the district nurse, Mary Beth Lyons, and our district athletic trainer, Megan Rourke, for researching and organizing a COVID vaccine clinic for AP students 16 years age of older, and parents and community members. Thanks to the Rite Aid for partnering with Allen Park Public Schools. Plans are underway for a second vaccination clinic to include AP students 12 years of age and older, and again, include any parents and community members who wish to receive the vaccine. Congratulations to Coach Julie Goodwin, CCCAM All-State Coach of the Year and 2021 MHSAA D2 All-State Competitive Coach of the Year and 2021 District Coach of the Year. Thank you to the Ford Motor Company for donating the COVID-19 air filtration box fans. Ford donated over 200 COVID air filtration box fans to Allen Park Public Schools for each of our classrooms. Thank you, sir.
Sorry, I lost my cursor there for a minute. Okay, we'll move on to citizens' comments. Dr. Tefelsky.
Let me refresh, but I do not believe we have any. Nope, just the one from earlier. That's it.
All right, some sense of normalcy starting to settle back into things. Okay, we'll move on to reports of officers. Let's start with Dr. Warren.
I lost my cursor too. This is my favorite board meeting. I mean, we haven't all agreed in months. This is amazing, and it's amazing work. So I'm definitely I'm always proud to be part of the team, but today is just even better. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate all that you guys do. I know I'm exhausted, so I know you guys got to be too. So I appreciate you all so much, those of you that are sitting there staring at me on that screen right now. Always thank you, huge thank you to the teachers. I know the roomies and zoomies is not the best option right now, but we really appreciate everything you guys have done to be able to get us through the school year and hopefully once again end on a high note. There's so many things that I could comment on from this board meeting. So I really hope that I just said thank you 100 times to everything and how amazing everything is. I also, once again, want to congratulate the retirees, even though I hate that because we're losing two amazing people there over there at Lindemann. But I'm so proud of you and excited for what's coming. And just a huge shout out. I wasn't able to the drama event. I wasn't able to look at that. I know some of you guys were, so I hope you can talk about that. But I am so proud of all of our amazing sports accomplishments that we've been having as well going on right now. So these kids are killing it. I mean, the middle school level, have you guys seen these middle school softball people, man? Oh my gosh, they're amazing. I mean, Sarah, you really have seen them. So, I mean, it's just, I'm so proud. I mean, I know it's more than just softball, but, and high school softball, let's go there too. But I'm just so proud. I'm always proud to be a Jag. So, keep up the good work, everybody. And thank you so much. And I'm so proud of everything we accomplished today. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mrs. McDonald.
Well, I echo much of what Dr. Jen said. Congrats to the new hires, though, and thank you for your many years of service to the retirees. Congratulations to Julie Goodwin, Coach of the Year. That's amazing. And thanks to the teachers for their double duty for these past few weeks, months, well, this whole school year. Let's just go with that. I know it hasn't been easy. I've been helping grandkids, so I know what it looks like, and I know some of the frustrations, etc. So I think you're doing a stellar job. And as always, many, many, many thanks to Barb and Tiffany for all of their efforts and hard work. And at this particular meeting, I guess really to Mr. Darga, you knocked it out of the park. So congratulations and thanks, everybody. Thanks for all your support over the past few weeks too. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. McDonald. Mr. Klein.
Yeah, I wrote down 5 things. First, thank you to the community for the bond, and it was the overwhelming numbers really speak to the community and their support of the school. So thank you to everybody who voted. Everybody for that bond. 2, Tiffany, thank you for a budget that sits at 10% fund equity. It just makes life easy, so much easier. And we've had years when it's tight, so that's wonderful. Thank you for that hard work. The rate team. I think back to Mike Harris and Sarah Soleil's presentation, along with some of the work the district was starting to hint at, and I think together we're moving in a really great direction. I'm just super excited about the new inclusion position. So thank you to everybody for making that happen. COVID is still there, but it feels like maybe we're getting to breathe a little bit better now, right? We're moving forward. I know there are still some kids that are struggling with quarantines, and so those are really tough situations. I feel really tough about that, or feel badly about that. But it does feel like we're going to maybe kind of rise into the end of the year rather than just try to limp through. So I'm excited to see that maybe things are beginning to feel like they're coming back around. Thank you to the teachers, admin staff for making that work. I know that this 2 roles, the double role of in-person and remote is tough. So thank you for making that happen. And finally, it was just after our last board meeting, we got to go, I got sitting at the top 25 event, and what an amazing group of kids, and what a neat opportunity to do what we got on the board to do, and that is to celebrate students, right? To celebrate children and to be excited for them. It was a different kind of celebration, but it was awesome. It was wonderful, and it felt it felt like something very normal to do. So congratulations to all those kids. Actually, I think there are 26 of them. So congratulations to the top 26 for all your hard work.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Flipiak.
Well, I think this past year and a half has been it's been a tough year to be an educator. It's also been a tough year to be a parent, and I think it's been a really tough year to be a kid. And but today I think is a great day to be a JAG. We accomplished so much, and we did it efficiently. We got so much done, and I'm just so excited about this new position. I too would echo what Mike said about the top 25 celebration, and that was one of the highlights of the past few months. I just had an excellent time seeing the kids, seeing the wonderful relationships that our teachers build with our students to help move them to the next level. And I just think it's really great. We're just doing great things despite COVID, and I'm proud to play a small part in it.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Lukey.
I am taking the shortcut out and literally just saying ditto to everything that everybody has said. I feel so happy right now that I could almost cry. The number one question that most people have asked me since I've entered my position on the board is, do you regret it? And I resoundingly say no, because life's peaks and valleys, and I was hopefully optimistic that the bond would pass, and it did, and thank the community for that. And I just am so excited to be a part of what I think is going to be a great peak when we're all done with all of this. So just thank you. I'm just so happy tonight. Thank you, everybody. And the changes over at Lindemann, I know the building will still go on, but it'll never be the same. So much love for those ladies. I muted myself, so yeah, I'm so excited. I'm hitting buttons, so I'm done, and I mean it. Thank you. Good night.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Martin.
Yeah, similar to everybody here. Thanks for everything. Thanks for the community with the bond passing, all the teachers that are working there, and administrators working their butts off, doing double sessions. Thank you to Tiffany and Barb and Mr. Darg as well. There's a lot of emails going around the last couple of weeks, so thanks to everyone here as well for all their work. All the new hires, welcome aboard. Are in some cases changes of positions, resignations. I know both my kids had Mrs. Heggie, and actually at that time made a huge, and still probably made, we still talk about it, big impact on their lives. All the superintendent's reports, recognition of Kendra, Chelsea. The clinic is going fantastic. My daughter was there the first time. We were in and out of there in literally 15 minutes. So going back May 28th. So I don't know if she's looking forward to it, but I'm looking forward to her getting fully vaccinated. And congrats to Mrs. Goodwin as well for all of her hard work. And also to our school nurse and you as well, Mike, for all your work on the quarantine, getting that resolved for the kids. Hopefully they can participate. Hopefully, they understand there's a little culpability on their side as well, and they're staying safe and being able to participate as well. But that's it. So, just thanks for everybody and appreciate your hard work. Thanks.
Thank you. We've the last 13, 14 months that we've spent doing these remote meetings. First of all, I miss you all, seeing you in person. I look forward back to when we're doing live meetings together. And I hope the meetings are a lot more about what we've talked tonight. This is really the nuts and bolts of what boards should be doing. COVID was thrust upon us, but Mr. Klein's right. It does feel like we are inching forward, maybe more than an inch here and there. And having said that, tonight is the kind of night where the strength of our central office really shone through. The competence and the commitment that you see from Mr. Darga, from Dr. Tefelsky, from Mrs. Keith is really, it was on point tonight. And Mrs. McDonald said that really nailed the meeting tonight. I think your whole central office staff just absolutely has this thing going in the right direction right now, and you should be applauded for it. I do want to congratulate the Allen Park High School Drama Club. I did go to the show last Friday, and I probably don't say enough kudos about that program. What a wonderful job they do for so many kids in our district. And so I should thank Kelly Klug and Alan Demeraux for all of their really, really hard work that they do. And one of the student directors this time did a pretty good job too. Sophie Miller, I thought she was pretty good at it too. When it comes to COVID, we are making progress. There's no question about it. When I stood online to get my first shot in January, I think I stood outside for about an hour and a half. When I pulled my daughter up last week to get her second dose, she went in and she came back out, I think about 11 minutes later. So, progress is clearly being made. And I would encourage everybody to know that progress is being made, and you can make this work for yourself real easily. I would encourage you to do so. And then lastly, I would prefer going forward if our 4-hour meetings are spent on topics like tonight, and our hour and 45-minute meetings are spent on us playing amateur epidemiologists. We'll see if we can make that happen. Hopefully, we don't even need that much in the future. But that being said, the future is awfully bright in Allen Park Public School for our extended learning community. I'm proud to be a part of it and proud to be part of this board with all of my colleagues, and excited for the future. So with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll support.
Okay, been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Great meeting, everybody. Thank you.